Panel members today are Ann Crawford and Dylan Reed. Our Deputy Secretary Treasurer today is Nicole Ivanoff. We acknowledge the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Committee of Adjustment public hearings are now conducted in a hybrid and in-person and virtual format. Some applicants and participants will make their submissions in person, and others will participate virtually by electronic means through WebEx. The meetings are also streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel, and anyone wishing to view the hearing may watch on YouTube. For those participating virtually, when your item is called, you'll be unmuted by the moderator. For both in-person and virtual participants, Committee of Adjustment staff will share presentations submitted in accordance with the written submission deadline. People attending in person today who want to receive a copy of the decision of the committee on an application must fill out a decision request card, and those participating virtually need to submit a written request for a decision by email. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, you may be able to appeal the decision to the Toronto Local Appeal Body or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. However, the provincial government amended the Planning Act and generally removed rights of third parties to appeal committee decisions. Only the applicant, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, specified persons and public bodies are permitted to appeal decisions of the committee. Today, I'll call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is contested, the agent or applicant will proceed with their presentation. Where an application is uncontested, the committee may not require a presentation. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Any presentation or other materials you wish to submit to the committee must have been emailed in advance of the hearing. Staff and committee members cannot accept new materials at the hearing. The applicant or agent will proceed first, make a presentation, then individuals either in support or opposed will be invited to speak. Generally, we call first on speakers in the hearing room and then those participating through WebEx. Each speaker, including the applicant, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee, and I'll comment when you're reaching the 5-minute mark. When all speakers are finished, the applicant has an opportunity to rebut those issues that were raised by the speakers. And this will mark the end of discussion. The application will be taken into committee for a decision. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, are there any files to be closed this afternoon?
Through you, Mr. Chair, there are no files to be closed or withdrawn this afternoon.
Any deferral requests?
Through you, Mr. Chair, first we can speak to declarations of interest. I see none from staff. And from members, any declarations? No. No declarations, thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, yes, there is one deferral request for this afternoon. That is item number 25, municipal address of 302 Geary Avenue, file number A0089/26TEY. The agent is online, so we can handle that application first.
All right, so we'll deal with item 25 right off the top. I'll just read it into the record. It is 302 Geary Avenue. This is an application to legalize and maintain the recreational use, which is a golf simulation service, which was constructed without an authorized building permit. Committee has before a copy plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 6 photographs of the subject property, covering letter from the owner, and a notice of violation affecting the subject property. Hello.
And through you,
Thank you.
Sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, we'll also note for the record that there was a very late report received from community planning. So we'll just read that into the record, and there are no registered speakers for this item.
Okay. Hello, sir.
Hey, good afternoon, members of the committee and fellow attendees. So my name is Ogie Hernandez, and I'm representing 302 Geary Avenue, Toronto, Ontario, M6H 2C5. And in the interest of keeping my remarks brief, I'll proceed directly to our request. So we've submitted a request for a deferral and would like to formally ask the committee to grant it. We're in the process of engaging in consultation with planning staff regarding several items identified in the staff report, and would appreciate the opportunity to continue those discussions and then provide a thorough and thoughtful response for the committee's consideration. As the staff report was received yesterday morning, we've had limited time to review it in detail and prepare a complete submission. So in light of this, we respectfully request a deferral.
Okay.
Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, panel, seems like a reasonable request. Anyone want to move a motion? Ann?
I'll move a motion to defer the application given the applicant's reasonable request.
Okay, Dylan, you seconding? Okay, all in favor? You're deferred, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we return to the regular agenda. We start off with item 19, which is 42 Carlaw, and also 44 and 46. So this is an application to obtain consent to sever the lot into two undersized residential lots. Parts 2 and 5 will have a frontage of 4.79 meters from Carlaw Avenue and a lot area of 188.6 meters squared. A new 3-story semi-detached dwelling with a front porch with stairs and rear balconies at the first and second stories will be constructed. There'll be a total of 2 residential dwelling units on this lot. And the rear 1-story ancillary garage will be demolished. The new 3-story semi-detached houseplex requires variances. The part 1 will have a retained parcel, will have a lot frontage of 4.79 meters and an area of 188.6 square meters. And similarly, this is, I think, identical, so I'm not going to read all that. Part 4 has lot areas 3 meters square, will be conveyed to the City of Toronto for laneway widening. Committee has before a copy of the draft R plan survey, copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 3 photographs of the subject property, covering letter from the agent, email correspondence from community planning, and from transportation review. We have staff reports from engineering and development review and the TRCA. We have email correspondence from the assistant planner policy analysis. Okay, do we have the agent?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online to speak, and we do have a registered speaker. I'm just making an attempt to connect with them.
Sorry, the agent is online? Yes. Hello,
The agent
sir.
is online, yes.
Hello.
Hi, good afternoon.
Name and address, please.
My name is Ron from 7K Design, and the address is 42, 44, and 46 Carlaw Avenue.
Okay, we have no one, we only have someone registered to support this, so it is a complicated one. Maybe you could just give us all a bit of an overview of what you're proposing.
Yeah, sure. So just some background. 46, 44 Carlaw Avenue, 2-story semi-detached, and 42 is 2-story detached dwelling. So the proposal is to combine 3 properties, divide them into 4 lots, and construct 3-story semi-detached duplex dwelling on each lot. So as for today, we are requesting 3 minor variants that is related to lot frontage, mean wall height, and building depth. So the first item is the proposed lot frontage, 4.78 meters. 4.79 meters, where 6 meters is required. This reflects the existing lot condition, and with the reduced lot frontage, the design still provides a functional dwelling that consistent with the neighborhood. And the second item is the building depth. The proposed building depth is 19.48 meters, where 19 meters is permitted. This represents a very minor increase of 0.48 meters, with no negative impact to the adjacent properties. And the last item is the mean wall height is at 10.81 meters, just slightly above the permitted 10.5 meters. The minor increased height is by the design intends to raise the basement level closer to grade in order to improve the natural light. And also, as per the TRCA requirement, all the basement window to be required located above the floodplain. Which also add to the overall height. I'd like to mention that the planning staff, development engineering, transportation, and TRC has been satisfied with this application, and there's no objection to the variance. And we also recognize and will comply with the 6 items that outlined it in the engineering memo. It's in our opinion that the proposed design represents a practical and balanced approach that fits within the existing neighborhood. We believe the 3 variants are minor, as they maintain the general intent and the purpose of the zoning bylaw and official plan. And also, they are meeting the 4 theses of the Planning Act. And thank you for your time, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you very much, sir. Panel, any questions?
Just a couple. Just a quick question. So there's no stairs from the back. How are people going to be accessing the rear yards? Is it through passageway in between the 2 houses?
Yes. So they do have access from the ground floor.
Oh,
And
there
the
is
second
access.
floor, we are not, proposing any
There is
stair
access
for
to the
them
ground
to.
floor. Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't see a door in the plans, but okay.
Yeah, this is a sliding door. Yes.
Okay. So
And all the plans.
oh,
Sorry.
so
go ahead.
is it from the like the sliding door goes to a balcony? Is there going to be?
Will be to the deck.
So the sliding door goes to the back deck, but is there stairs from the back deck down to the actual rear yard?
At this moment, we might have it during the building permit stage.
Oh, so you are planning to put stairs in?
Yeah. It's just at this point, we're not sure the back, like the landscaping design.
Right.
So at this moment, we are not sure what to do yet with it.
Okay. I was just wondering because there was no obvious access. The other question is, how are you planning on managing the garbage bins?
So basically, that's what the plan is about. So we're thinking to have the garbage bin located at the back of the property.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I mean, you've got lots of space back there.
Yeah.
And then is there enough space along the sides for those to be brought forward? Or is there going to be like a paved pathway between the front and the back?
Yes, that's correct. The minimum, the setback between the property line and the proposed dwelling is 0.9 meters. So
Okay.
it's about 3 feet. So it should be more than sufficient to pass through.
Okay, because at the moment you have soft landscaping at the front at that location, but I'm assuming you can make that change. I assume that you'll still be within the front landscaping requirements. So,
Right.
okay.
Yeah, we try not to have any garbage bin at the front of the house.
Yeah.
Just it's better.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you
appearance.
have here. You have stone or
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
And also, if you look at the rendering, it's better appearing to without any garbage bin and stuff like that.
Yeah. No. I think that's great. I just wanted to have an idea of how that was going to be managed. So, okay, thank you very much. That's all. I have.
Okay. Anyone else? No? All right. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
We're in committee?
Did we want it? Was there a support that we wanted to hear from?
Oh,
or-
there's someone in support. Pardon me. Thank you, Dylan. Yeah, did we find him?
Once.
Press 1. To replay your message, press 3. For additional options, press 9.
No luck? Okay, I think we'll just assume that the individual is supportive. So,
Okay.
all right, let's go into committee.
Yeah, I'm happy to speak to this. I I think this is a really good proposal. I'm impressed. First of all, I love having real duplexes. So often we used to see a basement apartment and then 3 stories, and it's not really a duplex. These ones are real duplexes, which is really nice to see, honestly. Also, there's no side yard setback. They've actually set them, decent distance from the neighbors, which is great. And they're actually spacious. They're giving, good space for people without actually taking in a small location. And honestly, except for the actual width of the lot, the 2 variances are really, really minor. So I think this is a really good proposal, and I'm going to be happy to support this.
All right, why don't you turn that into a motion, Dylan?
Yeah, sure. I'll move to accept this proposal with the engineering conditions, development engineering conditions.
Okay, motion by Mr. Reed, seconded
Second.
by Ms. Crawford, all in favor? You have your approval, sir, thank you. All right. Item number 20, 293 and 295 Oakwood has been postponed. Item number 21 is 37 Hillcrest Park. This is an application to alter the existing 2-story semi-detached dwelling by constructing a rear 1-story addition, also to reconstruct the wood deck and to construct a rear yard parking pad. Committee has before a copy of the minutes from the November 22nd public hearing. We have a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 8 photographs of the subject property, a covering letter from the agent, letter and photo from the agent, another letter from the agent to the neighbors, supporting materials from the agent. We have email correspondence from Heritage Services and from Metrolinx. We also have staff reports from Urban Forestry and the TRCA. We have correspondence in opposition from 33 and 35 Hillcrest Park. We have materials in opposition from 35 Hillcrest Park. That's it. Hello. Is your mic on?
Now it is.
There you go.
My name is Monica Kuhn. I'm the agent for the owner. Sarah McCarty Carton is beside me. She's one of the owners.
Okay, well, we have some folks who want to speak to this item, so we'll need a presentation.
Yep, no problem. So just to give you a bit of context, this property is at the end of a row. It faces a park, and to the north and on the east and on the south, it's surrounded by the Toronto Necropolis Cemetery. And the properties, this whole row has no street access per se facing the park. So the fronts all face the park with no street access, and then there's a laneway in the back. And because our property is at the end, our property is longer. So we captured the end of the laneway in the property. Also, a bit of history. The previous owner to this property liked to do things on his own without any approvals. Not only did he build a string of sheds along the shared property line with number 35, which also actually go over the property line onto her property, but also he built a deck along the east side that actually goes over private property onto city property. Did this without a permit, and part of our original work was just talking to the city to see if they were interested in selling that piece of property, and in the end, the decks are starting to rot, and we really need to replace them, and we are just going to replace them on private property. So we're going to get rid of all of that overhang. It's part of a ravine system, so we have to deal with TRCA, which you have documentation about. They are in agreement with where and what we're going to be proposing. Yeah, so that's a bit of the history of that. We came to you originally in 2023 with a rear addition as well as a laneway, a garage and laneway suite at the back. And due to budgetary constraints, we're now just coming to you with the rear addition and the reduction of and reworking of the decks. Now, to be very clear, the rear addition has no variances. So we could go tomorrow and get a permit for the rear addition. The variances, which I'll go through in a minute, have to do with the decks and the landscaping. Right now, the property has not much green space at all in the back. There's a wide deck that goes across the back of the house. Then there's an area that they use as a patio, which is covered with gravel, which is not soft landscaping. And then there's already a double parking space at the back at the end of the lane. It's like an extension of the lane into the property. So we have, with our proposal, attempted to increase the amount of soft landscaping both at the front and at the back. All right, so let me just quickly go through. You've got the letter that we sent to the neighbors. We've got the first variance has to do with the rear deck side yard setback, and typically the deck needs to be set back 0.9 meters from the side property line, and we're proposing to take it just in 0.15 meters from the east property line. Right now, the deck extends over that property line and probably another 6 feet or so into the city property, so we're going to be cutting that back. Variance to the side deck, side yard setback, same thing. It can encroach into the side yard 1.5 meters as long as it's no closer than 0.3 meters. And we're going to be encroaching 0.66 meters, but will be 0.24 meters from the east property line. Again, that deck currently extends over the property line into city property. Rear yard soft landscaping. The zoning bylaw requires 50% of rear yards to be covered with soft. Currently, we only have 10% soft landscaping. With this situation that I told you, we've got the parking already, we've got the gravel terrace, and we've got a deck. We are now proposing to increase that to 29%. Variance number 4, front yard soft landscaping. The zoning bylaw requires 75%. Currently, we were at 56%, and we're going to 65.2%. With a reduced front deck. And then number 5 is the standard TRCA requirement to be set back 10 meters from the top of slope. Well, the top of slope right now runs right through the middle of the existing house. And so their requirement to us was to make sure that we did not pass that top of slope line with the addition. And they have approved the location and size of our proposal.
Okay, that's great.
So,
Thank you very much.
yep.
Okay, I think we have some people speaking. Are they here or? They're here?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have online speakers for this item.
Okay.
First up will be Anthony.
Can you
Hi,
hear
good
me?
afternoon, Anthony.
Yes,
You've
again,
been
good
unmuted.
afternoon.
I'm Anthony Belcher. My address is 900 Yonge Street, Suite 504. I'm acting for the neighbor, Karen Jewell, who's the owner of 35 Hillcrest Park.
All right.
I should clarify, first of all, that 2 years ago, when the laneway house was proposed, I contacted Toronto Fire Services and was told that in no way would they approve a laneway house on that property because of the excessive distance from the end of Amelia Street where they could park a fire truck to the end of the row of houses where number 37, the subject property, is. So even if it had obtained zoning approval, a building permit would never have been issued for it based on fire safety. I've been asked by Karen Jewell to elaborate on her written submission to you, for which I prepared impact studies and a context drawing. We have the odd situation with this application where 13 of the 14 houses in the row have quite shallow lot depths of 87 feet or less, whereas the last one, the subject property, has a lot depth of 114 feet from having acquired the dead-end portion of the public lane. This gives the subject property relief from the minimum rear yard setback line, which restricts the depth of rear additions for all of its neighbors to the west. This is an atypical situation not anticipated by the general intentions of the zoning bylaw. The applicants initially proposed a rear addition 2 years ago, which was only 10 feet in depth. My client was fine with that because it was consistent with the depth of the 3 existing modest rear additions to the west of her, including that of her neighbor at number 33. The applicants have now amended the depth of the proposed rear addition to 15 feet, which has more impact on my client's morning sunlight and views. Perhaps we can look at the diagrams that we submitted, some plans and photographs. That's these ones, yes. Okay. So the applicants have now amended the depth of their addition. And have stated that they said that building permits can be obtained for this addition without any approvals by the Committee of Adjustment. That is only true if a revised site plan is submitted which complies with the requirements for a minimum of soft landscaping of 50% of the proposed rear yard area.
Which I can.
Despite the existing situation being non-complying because of all the unlawfully constructed structures that were built. Currently, only 28.6% of the rear yard would be maintained as soft landscaping. A building permit for the rear addition would only be issued if the 2 proposed sheds are deleted and the areas of the 2-car parking pad and/or proposed rear deck are scaled back. Currently, the parking pad and proposed deck together make up about 55% of the proposed rear yard area. By choosing to make a deeper rear addition, the applicants have reduced the overall area of the proposed rear yard, thus exacerbating the insufficient percentage of soft landscaping. With a greater rear yard depth, they ought to be able to comply with the bylaw requirements for rear yard soft landscaping. And so there's a context map that we could look at that, that one there. So a large majority of the properties in the row do have rear yards which comply with the minimum required 50% soft landscaping. Of the 14 properties, 9, including numbers 33 and 35, use permanent parking spaces on the south side of the public lane. They do not park in their rear yards. 1, number 11, parks in its side yard. The remaining 4 have parking in their rear yards, and all but the subject property only have a single car parking pad. Only the subject property has a double car parking pad. Both my client and her neighbor at number 33 oppose variance 3 of this application based on the proposal's nonconformity with the existing neighborhood pattern for depth of rear additions and percentage of rear yard soft landscaping. By refusing variance number 3 related to deficiency in rear yard soft landscaping, this committee will require the applicants to revise their proposed site plan so it complies with the zoning bylaw. Such changes might well include reducing the depth of their proposed rear addition in order to increase the overall proposed rear yard area. From my client's perspective, that would be a good outcome to ensure her continued enjoyment of her property.
That's it?
That's it.
Okay, great, thank you. Anyone have any questions? No? Okay, thank you very much, sir. Did we have another speaker? Do? Okay.
Good afternoon, Karen. You've been unmuted.
She's just the observer? She's the owner, right? I think Anthony was speaking on her behalf.
Okay.
Okay?
That's right.
All right. Okay. That's it for speakers. I guess back to you, Monica.
Thanks. I'll quickly just go through the neighbor at number 33 who sent in the letter but did not speak today. Again, depth for our proposal is not a variance. There's no shadow cast on his property at all, which is detailed in the shadow study that Mr. Belcher prepared for his client. And the neighbor at number 33 also has a rear addition, and his rear yard does not meet the 50% soft landscaping requirement. So I find it a bit strange that he's now having an issue with somebody else not being able to have something that he himself does have. Number 35, this is the attached neighbor that Mr. Belcher was talking about. There were issues in her letter with regards to morning sunlight loss. There is a shadow study. I find it strange that the shadow of the existing sheds is not on that drawing, nor will, when those sheds are gone, there will be a fence. So, and the only shadow that's cast really is early mornings in the spring and fall. And we could build a 2-story or a 3-story addition at the back of the house, and there would be even less light, less view. We are doing a modest 1-story addition, which is not much taller than the new fence will be when we take out those sheds. So on top of that, the neighbor has an awning, which is in one of the photographs that I just sent at the beginning of March. So she does, it's strange that at some times she likes to have the sun and at other times she does not, so, or the view. The views of the sunlight and the trees that she talks about, the zoning bylaw doesn't deal with views, but I would say that when she stands in her backyard on her deck and looks up past the fence or the sheds that are there, she can't see to the east of my client's property. She's looking up. She can't look straight out. But there's nothing blocking her view of the cemetery to the back and then to the southeast as well. So I think that it's a very minor, again, I mean, it's kind of crazy that I'm arguing for something that isn't even a variance, but I'm just saying that I think that shading or loss of view is minor and very limited. Soft landscaping, again, yes, if we went, for my clients, the most important thing is this addition. If we went to permit with an application for the rear addition, of course we would have to adjust the backyard soft landscaping. But I would argue that A, we're making it better than it is. B, that back deck in the back corner of the house beside the addition, it's a wood deck. It's raised off the floor. There's soft landscaping underneath it. The water can drain there. It's not like we're doing a stone terrace where we're shedding water onto city property or into the middle of our lot. So I know that that doesn't meet the definition of soft landscaping that the zoning bylaw has, but I would say that certainly stormwater runoff is handled in that situation. And if the committee so desires, we're happy to turn the back parking into permeable paving if that makes any difference to the committee. But again, that situation is there currently, and what we're proposing is making it better than existing. And again, we've got green space all on 3 sides of this lot. It's not like in some very tight urban settings where there's nowhere for the water to go. The water has lots of space for to go. As well, just with regards to this anomaly of the row, well, this is in the back. There's nothing to say that one property can't be bigger than another property, and the zoning bylaw relates to the size of the property. It doesn't relate to how big the neighboring properties are. And again, further down at the other end of the lane, the properties are a very different size, much smaller. They don't even have backyards because the laneway just cuts right behind the houses. So I would say that this row is not uniform in the least at the back. in the front, certainly facing the park. It's pretty uniform, except for the neighbor at number 35, who has the only front addition and front, combined with a front covered porch in the whole row as well. So again, we're talking anomalies. Can't have it both ways. Anyway, I think that's enough.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions of the agent? Dylan, you okay?
Yep.
All right. Thank you very much. Okay, we're in committee.
I'll just say that if we do accept the variances, I definitely think we should include the accept the offer of a condition for permeable pavers for the parking spots.
Yeah, I would agree. I thought this was a reasonable application. I mean, I think the agent stated, and I think she's right, is that the small addition is basically as of right. If it wasn't for the landscaping, the incursion onto the backyard and the impact on landscaping. But the fact that it's improved over the existing and with permeable pavers for the park or the driveway, I think it's quite satisfactory. It also is surrounded by green space, creepy green space, but green space nonetheless. I don't know. Do you have kids? Oh God. Okay, it's a remarkable lot, particularly the one right on the end, and I can understand why you would love it. It is an impressive lot, and I think that the decks that you're proposing are quite reasonable. In fact, good that you're actually getting them off city property. I think that's a commendable thing, legal thing, I imagine, as well. But given the vistas that you must have, I can totally understand why you'd want to have decks. They are not excessive in size. I take the agent's point that for certain types of decks, like wood decks with gaps in them, they do allow the rain to filter through and into the ground. So I think that also contributes to the issue of soft landscaping. So I think it's I don't really think that there is a negative impact on the neighbor next door, particularly with the removal of those sheds, which don't particularly look very attractive. I think this would be an improvement for the neighbor as well. So I think it's supportable. If you guys agree, someone want to try a motion?
Sure. Also, I'll just say, like, the fact that the decks are right at the edge of the property line is really has no impact because it's right on the edge of a park or a cemetery, basically, right?
Right.
So I feel like this is a situation where that particular zoning condition is not really significant or applicable. So yeah, I'm happy to make a motion to approve these variances. I don't think there's any conditions. All the agencies have given they're okay.
Yep.
So.
The permeable pavers.
Oh yes, right. Sorry, the permeable pavers. Yes, with the condition that the parking pads be constructed with permeable pavers. Thank you.
Okay, motion by Mr. Reed to approve with that condition, seconded by Ms. Crawford. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you. I don't think I could live next to a cemetery, but. All right. Moving on. Number 22, 125, 129, 131 O'Connor Drive, and 1119, 1121 Pape Avenue. This is an application to alter the development standards for the two-story commercial building containing retail and office spaces by constructing a second-story addition to the easterly portion of the building. A total of 17 parking spaces, including one accessible, as well as one loading space, will be provided on site, and a site plan control application is currently under review. Committee has before a copy of the minutes of the December 3rd, 2025 public hearing, copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, covering letter from the agent, email correspondence with the zoning examiner, you have staff reports from Urban Forestry, and an advisory report from Metzgerlinks. We also have correspondence in opposition from 133 O'Connor Drive.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online to speak for this item, and we also have a speaker in person and online for this
All right.
item.
Okay, if we can have the agent, Mr. Palumbo.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Oh, great. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee and Committee of Adjustment staff. My name is Andrew Palumbo of Ian Hall Planning Limited, and I am the planner and agent for this application. My address is 38 Betty Nagle Street in Toronto, Ontario. I will try to be brief in my presentation to the committee this afternoon, and I will open with a quick reminder for this committee that this application was actually deferred back on the December 3rd hearing in order to address comments that were provided by city transportation staff at the time, which basically was transportation staff requesting that the addition of one accessible parking space be included as part of the application in order to meet the bylaw requirements in this respect, and that thereby eliminated a variance that was before the committee at the time to reduce by one accessible space. And as a result, my client happily accommodated this request, and the proposal has now been modified to provide the required 2 accessible parking spaces being sought by transportation staff at the time, so that variance is no longer applicable to the application. It's just the 2 variances for height, as I will explain. To provide some quick background context, back in 2019, the city enacted a site-specific official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment approval for the subject lands, which basically allowed for the permission of a 2-story commercial building up to 2,000 square meters in size, whereby the approved second story was only a partial story. In addition, there is currently an open and active site plan approval application for these lands, which city planning staff are aware are very eager to close. Essentially, all this application is seeking is a minor adjustment to the already approved built form for the subject lands and is requesting the expansion of the second story so that it is now a full second story and no longer a partial second story as per the approved plans to date, which triggers the 2 height-related variances that are before this committee today. So just for added context, this is approximately an additional 320 square meters that is being added to the eastern portion of the second story, and it still remains within the permitted 2,000 square meters for the subject lands as per the approved OPA ZBA for the subject lands, as I mentioned. And thus, there is no GFA or FSI variance required in conjunction with this second floor expansion. In addition, there are no other built form variances that are triggered as a result of this second story expansion, as the building footprint remains the same, and as a result, there's no variances for lot coverage increase, building length or depth increase, and no setback reductions are required. The last point I'll make, in light of OPA 727, the requested second story expansion is sort of a moot point, just given that OPA 727, as many of you are aware, permits an as-of-right built form of height for 6 stories for sites along major streets, as identified on map number 3 of the official plan, which in this case, there are 2 major streets that apply to the subject lands, given that it's a corner site located at the southwest corner of PAPE Avenue and O'Connor Drive. On this basis, I believe this proposal will provide for an appropriate development that will fit within the context of this neighborhood, and finally redevelop the corner of a major intersection of the city that has remained vacant for some time. And it is my opinion that the proposal meets the 4 tests for a minor variance under the Planning Act, represents good planning, and is in the public interest, and should be approved for the reasons I have provided before this committee today. Thank you so much for your time. As always, happy to answer any further questions.
Hey, thank you, sir. I think we'll hold our questions and we'll hear from the neighbors. All right, there's someone here to speak to this item? Oh, there you are. Come on over. Good afternoon, sir. Yep, have a seat there. If you can turn the button on so it's green. There you
Ready to
go.
go.
Name and address, please, sir.
Good day, Chairman, committee members. My name is David Grant, Grant. I live at number 10 Pepler Avenue, East York.
Okay, you have 5 minutes, sir.
I prepared a written statement to save us some time.
All right.
Thank you. Concerning item number 22, which is the lot, as you're all aware of, on the southeast corner of Pape and O'Connor, I am respectfully questioning the need to develop this particular vacant lot when numerous other vacant or underutilized property already exist along the Pape Avenue corridor between Pape Avenue and O'Connor Drive. These include, but do not limit to, the following locations: 728 Pape Avenue on the west side, there's a large commercial building. 751 Pape Avenue east side, again, another large commercial building. A residential building at 792 Pape. On the following 6 addresses, there are mixed and commercial properties that are vacant, the addresses being 819, 817, 873, 860, 928, 930, and 985. In addition, there are other commercial properties that are currently vacant that are damaged or at least are offering up for lease. Those addresses are 851, 842, 899, 941, and 945. In addition to these vacant mixed properties, as you're all well aware, the Ontario line is going up Pape Street. At the very corner of Pape and Cosborn, on the southwest corner and northwest corner, there's a huge development going on for residential and commercial buildings in those areas. That construction is starting now. And on the area on the southwest corner, it's almost a full block that's being developed for residential and commercial areas. So given the availability of these existing vacant and underutilized properties, I believe that commercial development effects should be made directly towards these revitalized sites rather than introducing new commercial construction on the vacant lot that's being discussed right now. Prioritizing redeveloping of existing properties reduces the resources and waste, supports more efficient land use, and of course saves money. A lot of people, everybody likes to save money. There's also the potential for collaboration between property owners and prospective occupants to adapt the existing buildings to meet business needs. Such partnerships could include shared investments in renovations, flexible lease arrangements, and long-term occupancy commitments, which would benefit both the owners and tenants while enhancing the property values and the community's stability. For these reasons, I respectfully submit that the proposed commercial development of this vacant property should be reconsidered in favor of the utilization of the existing vacant properties within the area, and also taking into account the 2 very large developments that are going on at Pape and Cosborn. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You live 1 street over. Is there an impact of this?
Yes, the back of our property, my life partner is with me. The back of our property is on that lot.
So you would face this property?
The
rear would face it?
Yes, correct. Our back fence would be on the property line.
So you're unhappy with them doing a 2-story building here. What would you prefer seeing?
I was hoping you would ask me, Chairman. I was hoping those 2 very large commercial developments I just told you about has large residential areas in them, but both of the large buildings go up don't even come close to the need for parking availability in the buildings for the residents. So I was going to suggest that the city should purchase a property and develop just parking only, no taller than 2 levels, a parking facility for those residents in the area for the new development that's going on.
So you'd prefer a parking structure to this building? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time.
All right. And we have 1 speaker online.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have 1 more in-person speaker. So we have Angelina here at the podium.
Oh.
Good afternoon. I haven't been able to see.
I'll just need your name and address for the record first.
Angelina Galtieri, 3 Ventnor Avenue. I'm a past president of the Royal Canadian Legion, which is the adjoining property.
Oh, all right. Go
and
ahead.
president executive member.
You have 5 minutes.
It's not going to take that long. There's been some concerns because the land is contaminated and has been for many, many years. Is there a report on this? What do they plan to do with the contaminated land? This has been going on for, I don't know, 15, 20 years?
We will put that question to the agent. They can respond to that.
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. And do we have one more? Okay.
To you, Mr. Chair, we'll move to our online speakers. We have one online speaker by the name of Nina. Hi, Nina. Good afternoon. You've been unmuted.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Hi, my name is Nina Christou, owner and occupant of the lot 66 at 133 O'Connor Drive. My property directly borders the subject lands, and I respect that this site will be developed, but as the directly impacted homeowner, I expect that impact to be properly managed. I have submitted a detailed written objection and rely on it in full. I will briefly summarize. I firmly object to the requested increase in height from 7 meters to 10.35 meters. This is not minor in nature or impact and does not maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, which establishes a transition between commercial and residential uses. The proposed building is positioned at a very limited separation from my property. Increasing the height and massing at that exact interface materially intensifies the impact on my home. Even with the permitted 7 meters, the building mass at the eastern edge is excessive. It should not remain in its current form and must be stepped back further to achieve an appropriate residential transition and to maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. This proposal creates material impacts to sunlight, privacy, and overlook, affecting both the front and rear yards of my home, and introduces a level of massing and intensity that is not appropriate at this location, given its direct interface with a low-rise residential property. I am very concerned about direct overlook into my home and private yard, reduced sunlight, increased noise and vehicle activity, and resulting safety and security risks to me and my property. There are direct physical risks to my property, including potential damage associated with tree removal, fencing, and existing utility infrastructure. These impacts must be fully addressed and not left unmanaged. Accordingly, and without prejudice to my objection, I require that prior to any construction, the following: a designated project manager be identified and provide to me as a direct contact. A confirmed construction timeline be provided, including start and completion dates. A written agreement be executed confirming that all protective measures outlined in my submission will be implemented at the developer's cost. And I can go through those, but they are written, so I can also sort of skip over that. I just want to make sure that I say that the application represents a compounding variance, increasing both height and intensity at the property line, and cannot reasonably be considered minor. Approving this would undermine the intent of the bylaw framework designated to protect adjacent residential properties. For these reasons, it does not satisfy the 4 tests under Section 45 of the Planning Act. My objection stands. Thanks for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions, panel? See none? Do we have one more, or that was it?
To you, Mr. Chair, that's all the
That's
speakers
it? All right.
registered.
All right, Mr. Palumbo.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Well, first of all, I do want to thank all of the deputants for their comments. I'll do my best to respond to the points that have been raised specifically today. So I want to just remind everyone, again, the committee included, that this approval has been in place since 2019 and for the OPA ZBA, and there are no actual proposed changes to the, this is in response to the first deputant. There's no actual proposed changes to the use itself. It's going to remain a commercial use, and this application will allow for the intended development of the site as envisioned by these 2019 approvals. And I will again reiterate that city planning staff are actually eager to close this open site plan approval application that applies specifically to the commercial development of these lands. Otherwise, that deputant's comments didn't necessarily speak directly to the proposed variances themselves with respect to height. However, in terms of some of the other comments received, back at this part of the original official plan and zoning bylaw amendment application that was originally submitted back in 2014, that would have been when the required environmental reports were submitted, because yes, this site used to be a gas station, but the reports were completed to confirm that the site was now free and clear of contamination. And those should be posted on the AIC, but if necessary, we can definitely retrieve a copy and provide to the city upon any request. And with respect to the adjacent landowner at 133 O'Connor, one thing I will say, and I do sympathize that obviously this resident is closest to the proposed development. One thing that has changed since the 2019 approval is that planning policy direction has now basically allowed for, again, 6-story buildings are being encouraged as of right along major streets. And again, this flanks 2 major streets. So that would introduce, as of an as of right condition, a development of a much larger massing and scale than what's being proposed by, which again is just what, in my opinion, is just a modest intensification and expansion of basically a building footprint that is not changing, and also staying within the applicable permissions as per the site-specific OPA that still allows for a 2-story building, although partial, and a 2,000 square meter building, because the proposal is in keeping with these regulations and requirements as it stays within, again, it stays within the envelope, and it doesn't precipitate any other further variances beyond just the increases in height, which doesn't suggest that this is an overdevelopment. Rather, it's been still designed with at a 2-story height limit that still is within the character, the low-rise character, I might add, of this neighborhood overall. In terms of the site development matters, one thing I will say to the deputant from 133 O'Connor, and as I mentioned in a response letter that I submitted the first time around when this application was deferred, until this project goes to actual building permits, I'm happy to be a point of contact to provide updates to this to the deputant and to the neighbor. But what I will say is that it's still, again, this still has to go through the site plan approval process, and the city will ensure a construction management plan as part of that. So a lot of these matters that are site development related and construction related will be addressed through those processes. And not necessarily, again, I can't resolve those today at this hearing in respect to the variances being requested, but I just wanted to give some level of assurance that in terms of site development, these matters will be addressed accordingly through these city processes as this goes forward.
Okay, that's it?
I think that's all I have, then subject to any further questions.
All right, thank you.
One thing, the last thing I will say, the last thing I will say, Mr. Chairman, is that we have worked in close conjunction with city planning staff. I do know that they are also, that they obviously haven't submitted a report, neither opposing nor not necessarily supporting, but we have been in contact with planning staff to basically try and get this vacant site developed and moving forward, because there is an open SPA application that they would like closed, and this is just the one step that stands in front of that.
Okay, yeah, I was just going to give you the opportunity, I think you've already done it, to respond to the committee's direction during the deferral that you actually try and address as many of the concerns of 133 as you could, and it sounds like you've spoken to that already.
Yeah, yes, Mr. Chairman, I did submit a letter. That was a point-by-point letter that spoke to the points that the deputant from 133 raised. And like I said, happy to try and be the point of contact for that individual going forward until it reaches a certain point where I, as a planner, am no longer involved.
Okay, and the individual who spoke that lives on Pepler raised a number of options. I assume in your business plan and modeling, you've already considered those, and this is the site you're proposing to develop on. Absolutely,
my client that has chosen this, but yes, absolutely. As I said, this has been vacant for some time, and just a matter of getting, I mean, in the market that's there, the commercial market specifically, it would be good to have a tenant eventually have a site to come to now in this particular corner.
All right. Okay, thank you, sir. Any questions of the agent panel? I can't
Just
see.
a couple.
I can't see you, Dylan.
I'm here.
Welcome.
I just have a couple of questions. First of all, I guess I'm assuming that the original bylaw was to step down towards the residential spaces. Is that why
Yes.
they had that? Okay. And
Yes,
was that
and just to get to, just for added context, Mr. Reed, because I've been involved with this application, even when I've been involved with this application since it was originally submitted.
Okay.
As far as I'm aware, is my understanding that the main reason that this additional GFA is being requested, and there's a commercial tenant that basically needs it. So and just given the change in policy direction, the fact that again a 6-story building is allowed here and now is contemplated here as of right, that this is just in the context of that policy change, that this is just a minor addition in the context of what the city policy direction changed.
No, it's great. So so originally was it a response to local?
Yeah, comments, and that was actually established through comments through a working group. So
Okay, thanks. And I noticed that you have actually stepped back the building a little bit where it actually meets the residential spaces. Is that correct? Like there's a little notch on at the north and south ends.
That is correct. So just again to provide to not make it so massive, so to speak, and sort of they'll still continue to provide that transition.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Okay, if no further questions, then let's go into committee.
I'm happy to take this one. I know this site very well because I often drive by it. Trying to get to the DVP, and this has been vacant for a really long time, and it's at the intersection of 2 major streets. It's really good that this is being developed, and I think it's excellent to see this moving forward. And that stretch of PAPE is a little underused, but I think this may actually help to address that issue. I would also say that I agree the context has changed. The city is very much encouraging larger developments on major streets, and this is still only 2 stories. And I also point out, I understand, of course, that currently the houses beside it are bungalows, but basic zoning would allow houses of almost this height to be built there, should someone want to. So it's really no higher than a house would normally be. So I think it's entirely reasonable, and I'm happy to move approval of these variances.
All right, there is a forestry advisory and a Metrolinx condition? No Metrolinx, just advisory? Yep, just advisory.
I think the forestry is just advisory too, right?
Yeah, it is, yep.
It's not a condition, okay.
Correct.
So
All
I
right.
don't think there's any conditions.
So do we want to, you're doing the, yeah, okay. Motion by Mr. Reed to approve, seconded by Ms. Crawford. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you. Okay, item number 23 is 148 Lee Avenue. This is an application to alter the existing 2-story detached dwelling by constructing a complete 3rd-story addition. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 3 photographs of trees on the subject property, agent correspondence with community planning, and a tree plan. We also have a 13 signature petition in support from owners occupants on Lee Avenue.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the agent online to speak for this item.
Okay, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, panel members. My name is Felix Leitcher of 33 Fernwood Park Avenue, Toronto. I'm the owner's agent on this application.
Okay, so panel, does anyone need a presentation on this one? No, I don't think so. Okay, sir, we've read your application. We're familiar with the material. We don't need a presentation today. Is there anything you'd like to share with the panel before we take it in for a decision?
I believe you have all the necessary information that the materials have provided.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're in committee. Ann, you want to take this one?
Sure. I'd like to put forward a motion suggesting approval of this application. There's some increased height in the back, but no significant massing or change to built form. The depth and the rear yard setback are much less than as of right. It's been discussed with community planning and all the neighbors are in support, so there's no adverse impact.
Okay, and you're making a motion to approve?
Yes.
All right, motion by Ms. Crawford to approve, seconded by Mr. Reed. All in favor? You have your approval, sir. Thank you. Move on to item number 24. 8 Ford Avenue. This is an application to convert the existing rear one-story ancillary building into a two-story ancillary building that will contain a laneway suite to occupy the north portion of the ground level in the second story. By constructing a second-story addition with a second-story balcony, there will be a total of 3 residential dwelling units on this lot. Committee has before it a copy plan, a survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 4 photographs of the subject property, email correspondence from Transportation Review and from Metrolinx. We also have correspondence and support from 6 Ford Street, right next door. Okay.
Mr. Chair, we have the agent online to speak, and there's no other registered speakers for this item.
Thank you. All right. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and committee members. My name is Bruno Lopes. I'm Excel Engineering and Associates, located at 1649 Avenue West, and we are here to defend the homeowner.
Okay. Panel, does anyone want a presentation on this one? See heads shaking. No, we don't need one. So, Mr. Lopez, we don't need a presentation today. We've read the application. We're familiar with the material. And we may have questions. Is there anything you'd like to share with the panel before we do that?
Just final remarks. Absolutely, this is a very unique situation. We did our best efforts to create a very straightforward application that you have before us. And yeah, very simple.
Okay. Panel, any questions? See none? All right, let's go into committee. I think it's a fairly straightforward application. I think it's your turn, Dylan.
Oh, I did a couple before, but
I'll do it.
Well, okay, hold on. Ann wants this one.
yeah,
If you
let's see, give it
want.
a hand. I already had some laneway suites and gets
Okay.
to have one.
All right. All right, Ann, go ahead.
So I move for approval of the application, the conversion, basically. The variances are minor. There's a bit of height in the ancillary building, but they're achieving another residential unit. And there's support from one neighbor. I think there may be a condition, or maybe it's just the warning condition from Metrolinx. Otherwise, I move to support, or in addition, I move to
Okay.
support.
Motion by Ms. Crawford to approve, seconded by Mr. Reed. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, can we have a 5-minute break? The next
Yes.
one's gonna be long.
All right.
Thank you.
Back in 5.
Hey, members, please mute your mics and turn off your video, and staff mute the room. We'll reconvene in 5 minutes. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, we're ready to resume with item number 26, 501 Palmerston Boulevard. This is an application to construct a new 3-story apartment building with front and rear ground floor entrance stairs, front and rear balconies located on the 2nd and 3rd levels, front and rear basement walkouts, and a rooftops staircase access enclosures. Also to convert the existing rear 1-story detached garage into a garden suite by constructing a 2nd-story addition, a 2-story addition at the southwest portion of the building, and stairs at the west side of the ancillary building. There'll be a total of, I think this is changing. This says a total of 11. I think that's amended to be 10 dwelling units on the lot. And I think it's 9 in the apartment building and 1 in the ancillary. I'll confirm that with the agent. Okay, committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, revised site plan, floor plans, and elevations received February the 20th. Red line public notice received February the 20th. Revised zoning waiver received February the 20th. We have 3 photographs of trees on the subject property. We have a covering letter from the agent or owner. We have another covering letter from the agent, previous decision numbers affecting the subject property, tree protection plan. We have red line public notice, revised zoning waiver received March 16th. That's 2 revised zoning waivers. Another letter from the agent dated March 16th. We have email correspondence with Committee of Adjustment staff. Presentation materials from the agent. We have staff reports from Urban Forestry, email correspondence from Community Planning. We have, excuse me, correspondence and support from 509 Palmerston Avenue, 2 individuals with no address provided. We have 3 form letters from owners occupants of 525, 537 Palmerston and 581 Euclid. Correspondence and support from 3 individuals, no address provided, plus 517 Palmerston. Excuse me.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have the
Not finished yet,
agent here
so
in
got to
person
read a
speak on
couple
the
more
item,
into the
and-
record.
Oh,
Sorry, I just have to clear my throat. We have correspondence in opposition. I'm going to try and read these because I know this has been here before. There's a lot of concerns. If I can get my breath here. 503, 491, 497, 495, 503, 510, 515, all Palmerston Boulevard, 49 Poplar Plains, 496 Markham, 527, 501, Palmerston, 2 former Palmerston Boulevard residents, 294 Waverly, another former resident, 516, 503, 513, 472, 491, all Palmerston Boulevard, and another former resident. We also have the Palmerston Area Ratepayers Association. We have 491 Palmerston, 49 Poplar Plains, and additional correspondence from 505, 503, 499 Paul Palmerston Boulevard, and 147 Yarmouth. Okay, do we have the agent? You're the agent, sir. Welcome. Your name and address, please.
Yeah, my name is Leonid Kotov, address 29 Carnival Court, Toronto, Ontario.
Okay, we're probably going to need to take a little bit extra time on this one because it's a little confusing in terms of where we're at. You've made a number of changes, so I'd like you to, if we can pull up the public notice.
I think that's the correct one. I just wanted to flag that off the bat. The one that you read was a previous one. I think there were some mistakes in the one initially sent out.
I'm just pulling up the revised public notice. Is this the one we want to
I can't see that far, I apologize, even though there's 9 units altogether. Yes, 8 units. Yes, that's correct. And the other mistake that I found in this notice that was emailed, Stanley, who was the intake person, emailed me, and that's on the record now, is that we're not converting the existing garage. That's going to be removed, and we're going to be making a garden suite that's smaller than the previous proposal.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so is this the one we've got here? Have I got this in my package?
Through the chair, the agent has recently amended the purpose, and yes, this should be in your package. It was one of the recently revised correspondence that the agent submitted. So the number
It's
of
in the
units.
supplementary, right? Okay.
Yes, so the number of units has been reduced to 9 residential units on the lot.
Right.
8 within the apartment building and 1 within the ancillary structure. And the garage, we can delete to convert the existing rear 1-story detached ancillary building and just state to construct as per the agent's guidance.
So the changes you've made to the variances, when have they been made, and have the folks who have some concerns with this application, have they seen the changes?
Yeah, through you, Chair. We initially, yes, they were, I don't remember the exact date when they were all submitted, but that description wasn't updated after we provided the new plans. I believe the new plans were provided end of February at some point, or something along those lines. I mean, you can check online.
So like it didn't happen like 2 days ago?
No, it's just that the description. No.
Okay.
That's
Hold on. You guys, hold on a second.
on the public record.
You'll have your opportunity to share your thoughts. I'd ask you just to kind of keep quiet for now, please. Sorry, sir.
Yeah, I can pull up the exact date if you'd like of when the plans were changed. You probably have them because they usually stamp when they were accepted by C of A.
Yeah.
We initially had submitted with the same plans as a placeholder, and then we amended them to this revised application.
I am going to, at some point, when you have an opportunity, I would like you just to confirm the date that those plans have been made public.
Do you want me to do that after the presentation?
You can do that after your presentation.
No problem. Yeah, but there was plenty of time.
Through the chair to the agent, it may be prudent to go through the red line public notice that you submitted. Staff can pull that up on the screen so you can clearly go through the variances, the changes for the record.
Absolutely, and it's also very important to note that every change has been an improvement in the variances or a removal of a variance. So in no way have we changed anything that's made the proposal worse.
So we'll walk through sometimes the public doesn't always get an opportunity to see the most recent changes, so this is important from a public disclosure perspective to reinforce that.
Absolutely.
I will also, when that's concluded, I want to talk to you a little bit about the path to T-Lab.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
So can we, there is a red line version, but that's one that seems to be not redlined. So I think it's in the main package, right?
This is the right one, I believe.
Oh, that's it. Okay, fair enough. Got it.
Yeah,
okay, so sir, can you just go through, you don't have to worry about the ones you haven't changed, but if you can just focus on the changes that you've made?
Yeah, so those 2 variants have been removed. They're no longer variances. That's the only change. There was, I believe the neighbors will bring up the fact that there was another public notice sent out prior to this, which was identical to the original hearing. But this is the one that came out, I believe, a week after that one was sent out.
Okay.
And this is the one that was with the new plans. It had, and where we reduced the variances further.
So you've eliminated variance 7, which is the visitor parking spaces?
That's correct.
So you're providing those?
It's in an MTSA, which is now implemented.
Fair
and
enough.
Therefore, they're not required. Last time when we were here in November, those were not implemented
Fair
yet,
enough.
and now.
Yeah, and then similarly, number 8, the same reason.
That is correct.
Okay. Any other changes? Doesn't look like it.
Through you, Chair, sorry for the confusion here. It's a little bit of a complicated.
No, and it's important because there's a lot of people interested in this file that we're abundantly clear. Just out of curiosity, why are the Why are the variances asterisked?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So originally, staff sent out the first public hearing notice. After that notice was sent, but still within the prescribed time period, additions or changes were made to those variances. So staff was able to send out a revised public hearing notice. And that's the asterisks, as you will see. Those were the variances that were changed that were sent out to the public.
Okay. Got it?
Subsequently to that, the agent further changed the variances with their red line notice dated March 16th.
Okay. I noticed in your presentation, which I will ask you to take us through, you have made the change, you've identified where you are now relative to where you were when you were here before the panel before.
Yes.
So that's really helpful to do that. But before we do that, can you just talk a little bit, you have an application which you've set aside to go to TLAB to appeal the previous refusal.
Yes, sir.
So can you just talk a little bit about what your intentions are?
Our intentions are, if we're successful today, to drop that TLAB appeal. It was out of an abundance of caution. These types of projects, time delays are very, very costly. So we filed a TLAB appeal as a contingency. Initially, right when the November hearing loss happened, and we communicated with TLAB that we would be withdrawing it if we are successful here today.
Okay, do you still have a date at TLAB, or?
Not yet.
Okay.
We told them that we're adjourning it, I believe is the correct word.
Okay.
Question.
Yep.
Is what before TLAB, is it the revised one that we're looking at now, or is it the older one?
We appealed the original one, so what's in front of the TLAB, but we've literally, we haven't done anything with that appeal, but it's the appeal of the original one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you ended up not being successful today and went to TLAB, would you be revising to adapt to the current one, or would you stay with the original?
We'd have to take that back and make a decision. I'm not sure exactly at this time.
Okay, thank you.
All right, are any more sort of clarification or technical questions of the agent? I think we're good. Sir, you do have a presentation.
Absolutely.
It'd be great if you took us through that, please.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Committee members, thank you. We're back before you with 501 Palmerston. We've heard the feedback that was given by committee, and we've made changes to the application to fundamentally improve it. So first and foremost, 7 of their variances have been improved. If you can go to the next slide, that'd be great. 7 of the variances have been improved.
So I'm just going to stop you right there and stop the clock. I did have a question, a clarification.
Sure.
That rendering,
yes,
for this application appears to be different than the rendering for the application that you were here previously.
That's correct.
So the facade has changed?
Correct. We worked on it, tried to make it look, in our mind, nicer. We've also incorporated a large porch, which a lot of the neighbors were talking about. That does trigger a new variance, but those are the changes in terms of what we have done from an aesthetics perspective. And we wanted to make it fit in more. We heard, a lot of that feedback at the previous hearing, so we wanted to have it, in our opinion at least, fit that character of Palmerston better.
Okay, I just wanted to be clear because I did notice that the previous application looked.
Yeah.
I know you've made changes in terms of number of units and stuff, but I wanted to make sure that that has changed.
Yeah, aesthetically we wanted to improve. We wanted to improve all aspects of the application.
Okay, thank you. Please resume. Sorry for the interruption.
No problem at all. I'd like to point you to 2 variances in particular that were improved. The soft landscaping generally on the whole site went from 25 to 33%, and in the rear yard went from 28 to 38%. As mentioned already, 2 of the variances have also been eliminated. Urban and forestry clearance has been provided, and that's in the record. That was a point of contention last time. We've also reduced the depth of the building to match exactly what was approved at 509 Palmerston, 2 houses away at 22.43 meters deep. We've also adjusted and improved the side yard setback to match what is there currently at 0.22 meters. We've added additional bin storage space, and actually more than is required, which has satisfied all of transportation's requirements. We've reduced the unit count from 11 to 9. The average size of a unit in the new building is almost 1,200 square feet. So we have fewer units. They're focused on families. We're not just trying to have unit count here. I do want to flag that FSI remains a variance, but it's technical in nature. In the apartment building, if we reduce the number of units by 2, which is, in our opinion, not a good social outcome, there would be no FSI variance required because it would become what's called a houseplex. So we are doing something that perhaps is a more difficult path, but it's the right path because we're providing more rental housing. If you can go to the next slide, please. I think it's also important to point out if you can go to the next slide, please. Yeah, the present condition of what exists there, one back, yeah. On the left-hand side, this is what's there now. And a lot of talk has happened about the soft landscaping of the site, permeability, stormwater runoff. So the site right now has very, very little soft landscaping. There's a patch at the front and there's a tiny patch at the back. The rest is concrete, non-permeable. Completely no permeability. So you're going to have runoff issues. This is the worst case scenario. That's what exists here now. In our new proposal, we are suggesting to increase the soft landscaping by almost 500% to over 70 square meters and have permeable pavers on all the new footpaths for entrances. We're going to improve the conditions significantly compared to what exists currently. If you go to the next slide, please. We have a proposed massing relative to what's allowed as of right now. This is what it looks like from a pedestrian walking by, very much in line with what's allowed. But I'd also like to point out that this is located within MTSA. In the summer, the height allowance here is going to jump to 13 meters. So what we are proposing, which is at 11 meters, is going to be less than what's allowed as of right. This is what the province has mandated and what the city is implementing right now. If you go to the next slide, I'd like to, one of the things that came up a lot is the depth of the proposal. I'd like to walk you through some of the other apartment buildings in the area. The one in the middle, 532 to 534 Palmerston Boulevard, just up the block, is over 28 meters deep. It's also mid-block, just like our site. 337 Palmerston Boulevard, a little bit south, also mid-block, over 23 meters. 469 Palmerston Boulevard, I don't have a picture of it here, but it's also mid-block and over 23 meters. We're not asking for something out of the box here. These kinds of typologies exist in the neighborhood right now. This depth exists in the neighborhood. When you go to the corner lots, those are even deeper at around 30 meters. And one more clarification relative to the previous proposal. Previously, we had that staff said that the as of right allowance of depth was 17 meters. It's actually 19 meters for this building. So we're asking a truly minor change from 19 meters to 22.43, which is in line with the character of the area. If you go to the next slide, please, the side yard setback. We're asking to match the existing condition. There's currently 6 windows overlooking the south neighbor. We're going to be reducing that. So we're going to be improving the condition. And on the right, you'll see some photos of zero side yard setbacks. So the point here is we're just matching what's there right now. There are worse conditions in the area. If you go to the next slide, I'm just pointing out that we're 250 meters away from the Bathurst subway station. This is a walkable area. You can reach every single possible amenity. And at the last hearing, the committee said, this is a good proposal, but just not here. I'd like to push back on that. If we can't make gentle density work here, where you can walk to a grocery store, a university, a school, a rock climbing gym, literally anything you possibly would want to, where can we make the EHON objectives make sense? Next slide is urban forestry as approved. And
Sorry, I'm going to give you a little bit more time.
I need like
I think you
less
need
than a
it.
minute just to wrap it up. If you go to the next slide, it's just the 4 tests. I want to say that we respect our neighbors' local engagement clearly with this process. The committee's role, though, is to evaluate this application against the 4 statutory tests. Community sentiment is important, but that's not one of the tests. We've demonstrated that what we're proposing and the variances are minor. We're matching what's already approved 2 houses north at 22.43 meters at 509 Palmerston. We're matching the existing side yard setback. We've improved the metrics across all the variances and removed 2 of them. And in terms of desirability, we're providing 9 purpose-built rentals averaging 1,200 square feet. 4 of those units are over 1,800 square feet. feet in size, we're greatly improving the soft landscaping and permeability of the site relative to what exists there today. We're also very much in line with the intent of the official plan. We're adding gentle density and critically needed family housing to a transit-rich area and dedicating 80% of the square footage to family homes within the Bathurst MTSA and thereby supporting the objectives of EHON. And finally, we're very much in line with the zoning bylaw intent. We respect the surrounding physical scale, provided ample examples of deeper apartment buildings. This is a form factor that exists in the area today. We're conforming in heights, stories, and coverage. Our FSI variance is technical. Like I said, if we just remove 2 units, that would be an easier path perhaps, but it would be the wrong path because we'd have less housing available for long-term rental. Thank you very much for your time. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question related to. Sir, can we go into a bit more detail about the forestry thing and what's being done to address that? Like the second last slide.
Yes, sir.
I know that was a big issue in the first thing.
So I have an email correspondence as well, and Forestry has provided a memo stating that they are supportive of the proposal subject to, I forget what conditions, staff can perhaps advise to that, but we've addressed all of their concerns.
So, but is there a foundation cutout? Like, are you cutting into the, are you not going to have foundation in that?
Correct. As part of a root exploration, we'll be cutting back the foundation to address the trees.
So doesn't that mean that you're also going to impact one of your units? Because don't you have a unit in the basement there?
Well, we'll have to plan around it. The issue is we don't know exactly where the roots go. There's concrete in the back right now, so the roots might go further or not, or depending on where the roots go, we'll have to adjust. That's part of the process when we're doing the building permit.
I see. So you may have to adjust, but you're not sure because you don't know where the roots are going.
Yeah, what we've done right now is proposed a cutout that goes to the edge of the TPZs, and that is what Urban Forestry has accepted, and we'll use helical piles. Like there's so many unknowns when you start doing a root excavation, right? So we'll obviously have to address Urban Forestry and get their approval again in order to get a building permit, particularly if you will implement their conditions, which obviously we're very much supportive of you doing, but there's no risk from an Urban Forestry perspective at this point.
Okay, but I just want to clarify that, like, it looks like this would affect one of the basement units that you've got on your site.
Potentially, yeah, and we'll have to plan around that, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
It might have to cut it down, we might have to drop a unit, but that doesn't trigger any variances, obviously. We just don't know the quantum of that cut back. It'll be what we're showing here is the maximum amount that we will, and we've accounted for that, and then the building process.
I think that's important to for everyone to understand.
Absolutely, and the building permit stage is really where we drill down on that and really finalize exactly where that is. Obviously, it can't be bigger than what, if we're approved here today, it can't be bigger than what we're asking for, but the exact details are going to be determined at that point, at which point we'll determine the building systems and a ton more details, frankly.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. No other questions? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
All right, we have some folks here who want to speak to this. Do we have
Mr. Chair, we have speakers both in person and online. We'll start off with Dawn as the first in-person speaker. Please come up to the podium, Dawn.
Good afternoon, sir. Name
Good
and
afternoon
address,
to you.
please.
My name's Dawn Milady, Melady at 505 Palmerston Boulevard.
All right, sir, you have 5 minutes.
Just before you start the clock,
all right.
I do, as you heard, there was significant response in the background. I do need to address that we are actually making comments today based on an absence of up-to-date information. We were required to make our submissions a week ago and prepare our comments to come here today, only to find here that new plans have appeared as of an unknown date, which turns out to be March 16th, 48 hours ago. So this is intrinsically unfair.
Right. No, I understand your concern, sir, and I appreciate you raising it. We will confirm with the agent when the materials were made available publicly. But having said that, let's just go through your remarks.
So my husband and I are the owners of 505 Palmerston Boulevard, which is 2 doors down. The proposed variances are not minor. They have a substantial concrete negative effect on neighbors and on our neighborhood, and we ask the committee to deny the application. The project presented by the applicant, if we actually knew what it was, is essentially the same as the project rejected by this committee in 2025, just 3 months ago. The purpose of the application is identical in that the developer is requesting variances to build an apartment building that sidesteps many of the city's requirements for apartment buildings and land use. The permitted floor space index, as you know, for this lot is 0.67. The current application requests variances to enable a project with a FSI of 2.09. That's more than 3 times greater than the permitted ratio. It's in fact greater than the FSI of 2.08, which was previously requested and denied by this committee. It increases the number of bedrooms, although we can't actually be quite sure of this because we haven't seen the final plans, from 20 to 24 in the main building. It requests variances for setbacks that in some cases are more aggressive than the previous project. It breaks the street wall. It further reduces the width of the drive and the right-of-way shared with its neighbor at 503 Palmerston Boulevard. As an apartment building, the design of the current application presents all the same problems as the previous proposal. The project still more than triples the number of units on the site without providing adequate access, parking, or garbage handling. It passes off the owner's responsibility to the city, to the neighborhood, and to the owners of 503 Palmerston Boulevard. I assume you've had a good chance to look at the plans, if they are indeed the final plans. The majority of the proposed units are still oriented such that their only access is through a narrow footpath and mutual drive, never intended for that purpose. Vehicle access for the development must necessarily be across the property of 503 Palmerston Boulevard. On a daily basis, in perpetuity, the applicant's configuration forces occupants of the developed property to routinely and unfairly use the property of neighbors for every type of access and activity. The application treats the mutual drive and a neighbor's property as if they were a public street. If the committee approves this application, it will license a very problematic building type that can be constructed anywhere that has a mutual drive. It will effectively encourage the unfair use of adjacent properties by developers and landlords for their own benefit. It will create conflict among neighbors. It will introduce doubt as to property rights, use of shared land, and the integrity of titles. 2 short final comments regarding parking and bicycles. The applicant asked for permission to sidestep parking requirements for apartment buildings. This is inappropriate. It shows no provision for exterior bicycle parking, but rather attempts to locate required bike parking in the living space of the units themselves, as if anybody is going to be dragging their ice and snow-drenched bicycle into their living room for the rest of time. With regard to waste management, the city requires waste to be stored on private property before collection. We know this. In this neighborhood, the standard is for rear or side yard storage. The submitted plans that we have seen show room for waste in the rear of the property, but you can take a look at the space as drawn is clearly inadequate for 9 units or more, which would require at least 27 bins. They also show bin storage in the basement level for the westernmost units, as though anyone is going to lug their garbage and recycling bins up and down a flight of stairs on a weekly basis. I have removed some of my other comments because of uncertainty about what the actual plan is, but we do ask that the committee not approve this application or any application unless its density is in line with city requirements and appropriate provision for access, parking, and waste are made on this property. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. A couple questions. So you said you're 505?
Yes.
So you're 1 over.
Yes. So we are the northern half of a duplex, which immediately abuts.
And so you raised a series of concerns. what do you think is the direct impact on your property
The direct impact.
of this application on your property?
Well, there are a number. Adding a house on the street or property on the street that is completely out of keeping with the street.
Yeah, but
despite
I mean, that's broad. I'm more interested in what the actual impact is on.
So the reality of this, what is currently a shared driveway for our immediate neighbor, who is effectively part of our building. 503, yes.
So I'm just going to ask a question. I thought I heard you say that this proposal eats into the right-of-way.
Of 503.
Which, I'm looking at the site plan, I don't see that. And if they did that, that would actually be illegal. So I'm just looking at the site plan. When I heard you say that, I actually pulled up the site plan, so I wanted to check that.
As far as we can tell, the size of the building as proposed will significantly, meaning only by a foot or so, narrow the actual driveway between the two buildings. It's already barely big enough
It's possible the driveway goes beyond the right-of-way. Maybe that's what the issue is. We will ask the agent to clarify that, but when you said that, I kind of tweaked to it because that's a pretty important issue if it's actually accurate.
Also, and the other one, which impacts us for further development as well on our side, which has already been here at Committee of Adjustment, is the idea of using this shared driveway as essentially a new street. Because the only way most of these people can access their apartment units is by going down this, what is currently a shared driveway and a mutual drive. So you're turning what
They'll
is...
be walking down there, you're saying?
Well, so there's no car or bicycle parking available in the backyard. Yes, they would be walking down, but they would, so there would be however many units are going to be here, let's call it 20, all of those people are going to be walking down what is essentially a shared driveway currently.
Right, which would be, I imagine, 503's concern.
Between 501 and 503.
Okay, that's great. Panel, any other questions to the speaker?
Just a quick question. You referred to vehicular access for the new building. Were you thinking in terms of the construction process?
No, I was thinking of how my neighbors are going to get access, our immediate neighbors, the 503,
Oh, you mean
503 people, some of whom have cars, how they're going to get even an ordinary sized car down there. Or in the fullness of time.
You're referring to your neighbor's vehicular access to their back.
Or anybody's, meaning including I assume that somebody else has looked at fire access to what will eventually be the whatever we're calling it, laneway suite at the very back.
That is a requirement of getting permission for.
Yeah, they already. That's already addressed. But so you're concerned about vehicular access for the residents of 503 because they have parking in the rear, is that
Yes.
right?
Yeah. So, I mean, for a number of years, we don't do it anymore. We used to park in, we rented space in the back of 503's space, and we have a small car, and we could barely get that small car down. It was a very careful drive. This will definitely decrease the size of that passageway and make it very difficult to get even an ordinary sized car down there.
Okay, thanks for clarifying.
Well, again, I think that speaks to the right-of-way issue. So I'm going to ask the agent to speak to that because, again, what I'm looking at doesn't show 501 encroaching on the right-of-way. So we'll clarify that. Okay? Thank you very much, sir.
Welcome.
All right, our next speaker.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we'd like to invite up Maxine from 503 Palmerston up to the podium.
Oh, here's the owner of 503.
Not owner, I'm a tenant.
Oh, all right. All right, ma'am. Name and address, please.
My name is Maxine Sidran, and I live at 503 Palmerston Boulevard, one door north of 501 Palmerston, and I've lived there for 25 years.
All right, ma'am, you have 5 minutes.
Okay. First, I'd like to say that this my speech was updated following the receipt of what I was told was the most contemporary information. It came through this committee, through my computer yesterday, and it said, this is the situation as it stands right now. Most of the information I got on it isn't true. Now, as of yesterday, this is what I thought I would be speaking to. As of today, almost none of it is valid. Anything I'm about to say, I can't back up a lot of it because we never had this information. Okay. The new owner professes to desire the preservation of the street and the neighborhood, but this updated plan, which was mostly rejected in its last hearing, demonstrates his disregard and disrespect for the street. He still ignores, among other things, the density requirement, you've heard this before, the green space requirement, the accommodation of garbage bins, and the setback. He calls these minor variances, but they are not. He's actually asking for more floor space than was rejected by the last committee. And there is still less soft landscaping than is required to control and absorb rain runoff so as not to overload storm sewers and flood your neighbor's basements. Much of what the allowance provides is paved with interlocking bricks. Where's the green? Where the city requires 1.5 meters of soft landscaping between the lots, the new owner provides 0. And now is my big concern, which is about the parking. Yesterday, my information said there would be no parking spaces provided. I got up in high dudgeon and said there certainly should be, because these tenants will all be in competition with their neighbors for already scarce on-street parking. This is an obvious disregard for the needs of his neighbors and is almost a slap in the face. Why isn't he required to include parking? This is going to create havoc on Palmerston Boulevard. Also, another thing is my concern about 4 mature trees. It's not even mentioned now, but on March 2nd, which was the last time I received any information, Urban Forestry told me that this application is currently under review. If conditions are imposed as part of the decision, the applicant will be required to satisfy those conditions before a clearance letter can be issued by TPPR to proceed further with the COA process. Are we not proceeding now with the COA process? And what have they come to? There's no agreement. I haven't seen any agreement. How can we even still be here? Got me distressed here. Okay. Has the new owner come to an agreement that will save the trees? I don't think so. They're still working on it. So I'm still going to present that as something that concerns me. So have the plans for this, what is a McMansion, satisfied the conditions necessary to issue a clearance letter? If they have, what does he say he'll do? I've seen no updates on this situation. I have no way of knowing the answers to these questions because I'm just someone who's going by what I was told was reality. Find out now, it's not reality. But then again, I'm just someone who lives on the block trying to protect my neighborhood. Thank you. Please reject this proposal.
Thank you, ma'am. Panel, any questions of the speaker?
Just wondering if the speaker has a car and parks it behind 503.
I do not, but there are friends in the building who do.
You're a
Okay, thank you.
renter, yeah, okay. All right, thank you, ma'am. All right, our next speaker.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we will invite up Victoria from 491 Palmerston up to the podium.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Chairman.
Name and address, please.
Victoria Hathaway, 491 Palmerston Boulevard.
All right, ma'am, you have 5 minutes.
Okay. Well, based on the material that I had to work with, is now a good bit of it's out of date. I'd like to know that we received this, the material that we received was dated February 24th. Only one person received something more recent than that. So there is a large gap in process here somewhere. We do not have, I have information that is out of date, and I'll speak to that, but I will note that I am not pleased with this situation, that we are running blind. If it can change this fast, what else might change? My name is Victoria Hathaway, and I live at 491. I've lived there for more than 40 years. So I've seen a lot of life and a lot of improvements and renovations and a lot of general densification. My house looks like many others, a large single-family home inside multiple apartments. This is true of many houses on the street. The natural densification on the street has evolved over 120 years. These are fine homes. They don't need to be demolished. They're sturdy. They will outlast and last for many more years. This, as we have done with our gentle densification, looks successful to me. We hear the same from residents and former residents. Some of those former resident letters you received were from tenants who have moved on and remember their time on the street, and they write with those good memories. I oppose the development proposed for 501. These 8, they were 10, but now 8 variances are not minor. The flexibility requested by this applicant is disrespectful of location, common neighborhood elements, and is a vast overreach of City of Toronto bylaw and zoning requirements. It's not desirable because it's an overdevelopment of this residential lot. It's a medium-sized lot, still putting a lot of units on it. It endangers the trees, significant. And we do not have conclusive information about that tree situation. And it also risks flooding because of reduced green space and permeable landscaping. So it is not appropriate to the site. The proposed development is not compliant with the general intent of planning to promote gentle increases of density and provide affordable housing. We have no word about anything being affordable here. The proposed structure is a 10, now 8-unit building, plus a backyard garden suite. These are, is it 9 units now crowded onto a medium-sized lot? Residents will be short of green space with little soft landscaping, little to no storage for bicycles, pretty reduced garbage storage and waste bins, and no parking. Waste bins and bicycles will almost certainly end up on city property at the front, which is not acceptable. The changes made to this proposal since the earlier application last fall are minor and still greatly fall short of requirements. I do see there are 2 significant changes and additions. The front entries that extend the front porch and stairs and encroach on city property, and the utility room that's tucked under the front porch. I think, I have not seen detailed plans about that, but I understand it's there. These areas really need to be looked into and examined. So yes, there are some increases to the permeable and soft landscaping, but the really egregious one is the setback on the south side that allows for 22 centimeters to the property line, 0.22 of a meter. It's roughly 8 inches. There's no possible way that these 22 centimeters will function as an emergency egress or access in an emergency. And I think that's a very dangerous situation. possibly life-threatening. All these zoning requirements were wisely established to provide essential drainage, going back to the soft landscaping now, and to support our tree canopy. There are major and protected mature trees on adjacent properties. We need drainage to support that tree canopy, keep our city cool. That's one of the beauties of the street, and it's one of the beauties of Toronto, that we have lovely trees. Proposed apartment building is over 3 times this permitted.
I'm just going to
floor
ask you if you could just sum up. That would be
I
great.
am. I believe it's an excessive overbuilding and a violation of these zoning bylaws. It's not a minor situation. I do appeal and wish that we had more notice to respond to this. I find this unfair. It is not a situation where we are now having to pivot and adapt when we have no prior information about this change. I urge you to reject this.
All right, thank you, ma'am. I'm going to ask you the same question I've asked others. You live a few houses down.
2 houses south, yes.
What is there an impact, direct impact of this application on you?
Certainly, in the environment, the trees, the green space.
But just on your property or where you live, is there an
Well, it will be
impact
parking.
on?
Some of us have to use street parking in my
Parking's
house.
an issue?
Yep, always. Guest parking or resident parking will be very much reduced and compromised.
Okay. Great, thank you, ma'am.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we will call up John up to the podium.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is John Lucas. I live at 499 Palmerston.
All right, sir, you have 5 minutes.
I'd like to make 3 points. Number 1, none of these variances asked for are minor. Number 2, they do not support the purposes of the bylaws that they seek to bend. And number 3, all these variances have negative consequences. I can't talk about all the deficiencies in the 5 minutes I'm allowed, so let's focus on size. The lot coverage permitted here is 0.6. This has for 3 times that. How can that possibly be considered minor? To the north, this application seeks to exceed what is permitted to such an extent that it takes away a deeded right-of-way. And I understand there's confusion on this, but my understanding is that on the title, it says that deeded right-of-way is for pedestrian and vehicular access. And with my reading of these plans, there will be possible pedestrian access, but no longer vehicular. This is written into the title of both properties. So as you said earlier, Mr. Chairman, that deserves a very careful look. To the east, the application wants a building deeper than is allowed for a multiplex and much deeper than would be permitted for an apartment building. And in an area that is already diminished, the open area, they seek to build a garden suite that does not come as of right for an apartment building. The applicant makes a point now that the backyard is currently paved, which it is. It shouldn't be. I've been asking the city for 20 years to do something about it. They haven't. If we're talking about a demolition here, we must assess this as a vacant lot. So what's there now is not really relevant. The consequence of paving the backyard or having insufficient green space is the runoff won't be accommodated. To the west, the proposal wants to go even beyond the property line with pavement and stairs. And although it's not stated in the application, the overuse of the rest of the lot means that the city property would be used for bicycle parking and garbage bin storage. This proposal fails to report the correct dimensions of the building by excluding elements which are integral to it. I'm referring to the integrated building footings and the underground room at the front. Furthermore, and this is especially evident in the western aspect, the front of the building, the design completely fails to follow the policy direction included as part of the official plan for established neighborhood, namely that it, quote, have heights, massing, and scale that are respectful of those permitted but for nearby residential properties. On this street, all houses have a uniform setback that was established by the planners 120 years ago, and all have front porches. This design is completely disrespectful of that, contrary to the policy direction provided. To the south, the proposed 22 centimeter setback is particularly egregious. The bylaws require a 1.5 meter setback as a buffer and drainage around apartment buildings in residential areas. 22 centimeters? An impossible setback to allow those windows to serve as emergency exits, as is required. Either a parked car or the existing fence or anything on the adjoining property could trap a tenant in his or her apartment should there be a fire that requires the use of the emergency egress. Most of our bylaws in Toronto began after the Great Toronto Fire in 1904, and I would submit to you that the very most basic purpose of having bylaws is to protect the lives and safety of the occupants of the buildings. This proposal fails to do that. The consequence of this variance is that someone could burn to death. I would like to note that a few months ago, an almost identical proposal was turned down by the Committee of Adjustment for failing all 4 tests, particularly the size issue. And this proposal is for an even larger building. Surely this application is an abusive process. We're supposed to be a society governed by laws. And I understand there's a slightly unusual situation here in that this committee is tasked with determining if there might just be a little wiggle room in implying some laws. Fair enough. Luckily, you've got lots of strong direction and legislation for doing this, mostly telling you what won't fly. As I'm sure you know better than I do, exemptions or variances must respect the original intention of the bylaws, and they must be minor. None of these requests for variances satisfy these conditions. They fail all 4 tests that you were tasked with applying. Please refuse this application.
Thank you, sir. Great timing. Anyone have any questions of the speaker? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Our next speaker?
Through you, Mr. Chair, we'll call up Declan up to the podium.
Afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. My name is Declan Scott. I am the basement tenant at 491 Palmerston basement unit. Before I begin, I'd like to mention, as my colleagues have said, my opposition is based on the proposal from February 24th, not March 16th, as we, the public, weren't notified of any changes that had been made at that point. Thank you for taking the time to hear me today. I've lived at 491 Palmerston for 2.5 years now. I'm 26 years old. I'm a renter in Vicky's basement, and I'm a musician. I'd like to take a bit more of a personal tone with my objections. As a younger person, I'm aware, more than most, of the housing affordability crisis we're experiencing. Since I've been in high school, I've been told I'll never be able to afford a house in the city I grew up in, and I've watched Toronto become harder and harder to live in for me, my family, and my friends. That would normally be a preface to an argument for why we need more housing, why more housing needs to be built to bring housing costs down. The reason I won't be making that argument is because I believe this specific proposed housing development is not what the city needs or what anybody, Palmerston resident or potential new resident, wants. I don't have to tell you how many bylaws this proposed building violates. In my opinion, some of these bylaws are less crucial to the well-being of the city, and I feel like some flexibility wouldn't be hurtful. I find the egregious violation of them off-putting, but generally not dangerous to human life at the very least. The variance from bylaw 2 is the exception. As we can see, the required setback in the south lot is 0.9 meters. What this means is someone could fit between the side of the building and the neighboring fence if they needed to. The proposed setback is 0.22 meters, or roughly 2/3 of the length of a ruler. In the event of a fire, nobody would be able to escape through the window. If this proposed unit were to burn down and someone couldn't escape from the window, that would make all those who allowed these conditions to be possible responsible. This is illegal for a reason. That's pretty much all I had to say. To answer the question of whether this will have a direct impact on me, I would say no. I don't think it does. But I'm not here today to look out for myself. I'm here to look out for the tenants and renters just like me of today and for those to come.
Thank you, sir. Any questions, panel? Thank you very much, sir.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we'll move to our online speaker.
How many are there online? Just the one?
Just one.
Okay.
Hi, good afternoon, Graham. You've been unmuted.
Hi there. Okay.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, members of the committee. My name is Graham Lewis. I live at 472 Palmerston Boulevard. I just want to start by saying that, yes, these plans have not changed all that much. And in fact, they have introduced new issues of non-compliance, but due to the waiver of the zoning review, they have not been mentioned or discussed. And that's a bit of a problematic too, considering everybody is measuring approval based on these plans. I have verified, in fact, that there are certain conditions that should have been requested for minor variance, and I did review that in an informal review with both city planners and zoning. The proposal is too intense, and people have spoken to that, but I also think that it's important to note that the proponent has cited examples of apartment buildings that were built onto the street 100 years ago in a different time, in a different era, when water had to go, or water drained right into the sewer system. I should also note that he's talking about them being deep, but all these apartments also have a laneway going behind them, and this particular proposal or property does not. There is also the need in the city for more housing, but nobody's talked about the fact that there are 916 rental units at the Honest Edge development that have just recently and are coming online. 366 of those are affordable housing. There is currently a surplus of vacancy, and they are running aggressive promotional campaigns right now to try and increase occupancy based on a seemingly lack of demand. And as of today, there are between 400 and 600 rental units listed for rent within a 1,000 meter radius of the Bloor and Bathurst corridor. So I would suggest that, while making accommodations and improving minor variances to approve the mandate of the city, there also needs to be consideration for, just because we're in the city of Toronto doesn't necessarily mean that this exact neighborhood needs to blow out the boundaries of setbacks and everything to achieve something that's adding 8 units and unnecessary. I'm going to talk about a couple of things, and I can go deeper into the easement after this if somebody wants. But I want to talk about the garden suite. In the city of Toronto, garden suites on properties with apartment buildings are not as of right. They do not qualify for approval of minor variances, and they must meet all requirements for zoning, even if they are to be considered. If they trigger or contribute to other non-compliant zoning conditions, they should be removed from any consideration for approval. In this case, the proposed garden suite does not meet the required 1.5 meter setbacks for a garden suite. The presence of the garden suite results in a massive shortfall of landscaping requirements that affect the ability for stormwater and drainage of the property. Furthermore, the tree in the very bottom right of the screen on the property right now is so grossly misrepresented. It states that there are two 40-meter diameter trees, and in fact, the split of the tree happens above 7 feet from ground level, and it is a massive tree, so the root matter and the canopy would extend well into the adjacent into the property of 501 Palmerston. So, I mean, the plan saying that, oh, great, put this garden suite here. Incidentally, this garden suite shouldn't even be up for consideration because it puts the site so out of compliance to begin with. It should be removed, and the 1.5 meter setback cannot be met. Secondly, I want to talk about the 22 meter or 22 centimeter setback on the south of the property. There is a requirement for all tenanted units in the basement to have a secondary egress, and there must be a 55 centimeter clearance. There is not possible for any apartment building with a basement apartment on this property to have a secondary egress with a basement apartment on the south and achieve this. Like at a very minimum, this proposal needs to be at 55 centimeters setback from the property line, double what it is, and it doesn't even comply with building code. So there's no point in giving it a minor variance for approval of an apartment building that ultimately can't meet code, if the objective is to build these things. I want to talk lastly about this easement. In the province of Ontario, the laws of Ontario make it clear that in cases where easements are placed in a condition of risk, there's an obligation to consider and respect the intent and purpose for which the original easement applies, and if that condition is still valid, the protection of the easement for continued use should be prioritized. Up until recently, for decades, the mutual driveway has been used by occupants on both properties of 501 and 503. In 2021, because the property was owned forever by one owner, the properties were merged on title. In 2021, there was an action to sever those properties, and at that time it was done with the Committee of Adjustments. There was an easement that you'll see marked on plan there that is 2 feet on either side of the property line. But you'll also notice that the center line, or the line of the property, is not following the center line of the driveway. The reason that the 2 foot and 2 foot easement was put in place because 503 could only offer 2 feet on their property, and so quid pro quo, they took 2 off of 501. However, the Committee of Adjustments did make and it was, the easement clearly stated it was for vehicular and pedestrian access. The Committee of Adjustments did put a supporting line in there that said neither of the buildings would be, I've got the language here, might as well read it, neither of the existing 2.5 story detached dwelling will be maintained unaltered. And so both buildings had to be maintained, and the condition was the same for 503. In 2023, the easement was revised to accommodate or make some accommodation at least for this property, possibly needing to be upgraded at some level, so you can't have a condition that says the entire dwelling cannot be altered. So in good faith, this last line was removed. However, the condition or the intended use was maintained on that, said it was for pedestrian and vehicular access, and it did say in favor of the north abutting property municipally known as 503 Palmerston Boulevard. So while it's been kind of put under the rug here, but while this may achieve kind of setbacks or approved setbacks for a property, the fact that there is an easement there that is at risk and at jeopardy prioritizes anything that is as of right. And in fact, there's so much that is not as of right here. It's incredible that this one is being tested as well. But the laws of Ontario make it clear that the easement and the intent of it should be considered a priority. And the bylaws of the city also state that if you have a parking space, a parking space must have access to a municipal road.
Okay, sir, I'm going to cut you off there. That was very helpful in terms of better understanding of the easement, and we will follow that up with the agent. But your time, you've gone well over your time, so I'm going to cut you off there, sir. Thank you very much. All right, I think that's it for us. We have one more.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair, we've been successful to connect with an online speaker that was registered, so we will unmute Carolina. Hi, Carolina, you've been unmuted.
Oh, thank you. So, yes, I'd like to thank the Committee of Adjustment.
Sorry, just your name and address for the record, please, ma'am.
Oh, sorry. Yes, my name is Carolina Landolt.
And the address?
And my address, 517 Palmerston Boulevard.
All right. You have 5 minutes, ma'am.
Thank you. So, as I was saying, I'd like to, thank the committee for giving me this opportunity to voice my opinions. here I am really just kind of speaking from the heart. I am here in strong support of the proposed development at 501 Palmerston. To share a little bit about myself, I've lived in this neighborhood since I was a teenager, attending the University of Toronto as a student. I transitioned from renter to owner and have lived on Palmerston Street for well over 3 decades. Obviously, I care deeply about our neighborhood and our street. Palmerston is a beautiful street with a distinct history and undeniable charm and character. I don't think this makes it untouchable. Its qualities do not make it immutable to change or justify keeping other people out of it. In a city facing a housing crisis, beauty cannot become an argument for exclusion. 501 Palmerston is exactly the kind of project Toronto says it wants more of. It isn't a tower. It's not a mega project. It is not the destruction of an entire block. It is a low-rise addition of homes on a single lot in a central neighborhood that is already close to so many amenities: transit, parks, shops, schools, and importantly, jobs. If a project like this is treated as too much, then we need to ask, seriously, where exactly does housing go? Because it can't always be somewhere else on someone else's street in some other part of the city. A common rallying cry in these types of debates is protecting neighborhood character. And I feel this too easily and commonly becomes a way of protecting scarcity. And protecting scarcity has consequences. It drives up prices, it locks people out, and it turns attractive, well-served neighborhoods into places that only a narrow slice of the population can access. We create gated communities with invisible gates. This is not a neutral outcome, but is a choice. And it is a choice that makes Toronto less open, less fair, and less livable. That is not what I wish for. I also want to speak directly in support of renters and younger people who might one day live on the street. I've been a witness to the difficulties of my kids' friends in finding accessible, affordable housing in the downtown core as they try to continue their studies or launch their careers. Renters are not a threat to neighborhood quality. They are not lesser class of residents. They're students, young professionals, and families. Many younger people want exactly what Palmerston offers: a beautiful street, a walkable neighborhood, nearby transit, and a sense of community. But they are increasingly shut out of places like this by price alone. If every established neighborhood resists new homes on the basis that future residents might be renters or younger or less affluent, then we are sending a very clear and honestly noxious message. You can contribute to the city, but you cannot belong to its most desirable parts. That is wrong. A strong neighborhood should be able to welcome new generations, new tenants, and new households. It's also important to remember that neighborhood character is not destroyed by change. It is created over time through change. Streets like Palmerston did not become meaningful because they were frozen in place. They evolved. Buildings were altered, homes were subdivided, and new forms of living were absorbed into the street. That is what cities do. That is what thriving cities do. A living neighborhood is not a museum piece. It is a place that adapts. I fear that if every pleasant, established, centrally located street in Toronto is treated as too special to accept even modest intensification, then the housing crisis will never be solved, and we will hollow out our core. Every neighborhood can point to its charm, its history, its greenery, its built form, its uniqueness. But if every one of those qualities becomes a veto, then yes to housing, yes to the missing middle means nothing. It becomes a slogan with an asterisk: yes, but not here. So I would urge the committee to be honest about what is at stake. This, for me, is not just a debate about one building. It's about debate about whether Toronto's best neighborhoods are willing to share themselves, whether they are willing to welcome more people, whether they remain part of the living city or become enclaves protected from the very change the city now urgently needs. Supporting 501 Palmerston is not an attack on Palmerston. It is, for me, a vote for a more inclusive city. It is a vote for renters, for younger people, a vote for new energy, new ideas, and new creativity. It is simply a vote for the principle that beautiful neighborhoods should not be reserved only for those who actually just got here first. Anyways, those are my thoughts. I would like to thank you again for your time and your patience, and for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Panel, any thoughts or questions on the speaker? None? Okay. That's it for our speakers?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That is it for speakers.
All right. All right, we'll ask the agent to come back. Before you get into your rebuttal, I just want to talk, a lot of people have raised the issue about process and timing.
Yes.
You were going to go back and double check and confirm the dates for which the revised information was made available. And I'm going to confirm with our staff that if that's what the right dates are, that the process that we follow for Committee of Adjustment has been adhered to. Okay, so if you could just confirm the dates for us, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm seeing that on the AIC, the updated plans appeared on February 20th. And just to be clear, a lot of, frankly, everyone referenced those plans. That larger porch is from those new plans. So the only change that happened, what everyone's talking about on March 16th, wasn't a change to the plans. It was the removal of 2 variances once we received confirmation that those are no longer variances.
Right.
That's all that happened.
Okay, so that's helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Nicole, I just want to ask you just to confirm that process is appropriate relative to our rules of procedure.
Through the chair, that is correct. The plans were on the Application Information Center website on February 20th, and that is as per our process, our protocol, and within the prescribed timelines.
Great, thank you very much.
And my understanding, I'm so
I just
sorry.
wanted to take that time because a lot of people raise the concern about notice or working on oval plans. For our purposes, the applicant has satisfied appropriately the process and the requirements on the Planning Act for notice and change. So with that, now, if I could ask you to start your presentation.
Sure, I'll address one thing that came up a lot is the right-of-way. So the owner of 503 Palmerston is not here. He's not speaking. There's a reason for that. We're not encroaching on the right-of-way. We have 1 meter on our property that is being used for the walkway. There's 0 encroachment. We're not building into anyone's right-of-way. We're not taking anything away from anyone. If Attila, because I've been in contact with him, felt strongly enough about the current application, he'd be here today. He's not. I'm sorry, can you not interrupt me?
No. Your time is done, sir. Thank you. I'm just going to ask while you speak. So the site plan is up. So when we were looking at the site plan with respect to the right-of-way, that is the right-of-way showing there?
Yeah, the right-of-way.
There's no encroachment.
No, and there's a meter. So in the dotted line is the property line on the north. And there's 2 feet on either side of the property line. That's a mutual right-of-way.
And in fact, it looks like 503. Is there a little cutout into the right-of-way there?
Potentially. Again, I haven't gone into that extent, but yes, possibly.
Or something, maybe.
Yeah. So we are not encroaching. We have a meter between our property line and the building for people to walk. I just asked for a little bit more time because of the interruption.
I will grant that.
Through the chair to the agent, can you also confirm that, please, with the survey submitted? Staff can pull up the survey.
That's correct. Yeah, the survey clearly labels where the right-of-way is relative to the current house, obviously. But if you see right there, the dark line is the property line, and those 2 dark squares and then the punctured line thereafter, that's the right-of-way that's on our side. Correct, yes, thank you so much for that. And that's the mutual right-of-way that's on their side.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you very much for that clarification.
Thank you.
I'm just going to reset the clock. We can reset the clock for the agent.
Thank you so much for doing that.
All right, go ahead, sir.
Okay, one thing that was noted in terms of the side yard. So if you go to slide number 6, of the presentation, if you can pull that up. That's what currently exists on the site. We're matching what's existing there. There's also a fence that I believe 499 built, which would block any access. There's no fire safety concerns here whatsoever. The entrancing is off the north side. Everyone has direct access. There are balconies for safe refuge. No one is using this side neither right now, no, it's physically impossible to use it because they built a fence, nor will they be using it in the future. So all we're doing is just matching what's there. As well, I'd like to draw your attention one more time to the existing condition there, which is on slide 3, I believe, or 4, sorry, where it's completely paved over. There's no permeability. If people are really concerned about permeability and stormwater runoff, we're improving it. This is the worst condition possible that you can have for that. If you go to the next slide, there was talk about, fitting into the context of what exists there and what's allowed there, particularly of importance. If you look right and left, are fitting in perfectly. Frankly, you could argue that the as of right is larger and more imposing than a proposed massing. And again, you'll be able to go higher in the summer because the province has mandated that needs to happen. I want to say thank you to all the neighbors, frankly, but it's clear we all care deeply about Palmerston Boulevard, but listening to the concerns, it feels like we are being asked to choose between two versions of the neighborhood. We can choose a neighborhood that looks exactly the same as it did decades ago, frozen in amber, if you will, because we are afraid of incremental change, or we can choose a neighborhood that is alive, evolving, and thriving, like the last speaker alluded to as well. And I choose the latter as well. The numbers tell a quiet but very sad story. Since 1960, the population in this area has plummeted from 120,000 people to roughly 80,000 today. Our local elementary school is sitting at just 60% capacity, and in 20 years, it'll be half empty. Neighborhoods are living things, and if they aren't bringing new families, new life, new people, they're hollowing out and they're going to die. When we talk about the intent of the official plan, we have to talk about who we're building for. As a father living in the city and who has a family, I very much care about our neighborhoods, but I also know that it's increasingly being difficult for families to find proper housing in neighborhoods in the city. No one is building what we're proposing today. We aren't building micro condos for investors. We are building 9 purpose-built rental homes, including 4-bedroom units. 80% of the entire square footage is dedicated to family-sized housing. It's incredibly difficult to build this, but it's exactly what the expanding housing options in neighborhoods framework is begging for. If we bat down this kind of family-focused density because we are scared of change, we are telling young families and new inhabitants that there is no place for them here. Beyond just the size of these homes, we are delivering stability. These aren't speculative condos. They're purpose-built rentals. We're giving the ability to put down long-term roots without the constant fear of a landlord selling the unit. And frankly, in a different typology than what is being built at the Mirvish high-rises. And we're doing this exactly where the city's official plan says growth should happen, inside the Bathurst major transit station areas on a walkable, transit-rich street. This is the definition of smart, forward-looking growth. If you go to slide 13, the neighbors focus heavily on variances, but Toronto's zoning bylaw is a blunt, citywide instrument. We have to apply it to the actual context in this dense downtown street. If you look at the images, these are all examples of what would be called apartment buildings that are much deeper than what we are proposing. We're merely proposing to match 509 Palmerston, which was approved, I believe, in the summer of 2025 at 22.43 meters. Many of these are over 30 meters deep, and they're on the street. Our FSI did increase by a fraction from our last submission. It's to be specific by 0.06, which represents 28.4 square meters. It was added specifically to accommodate mechanical space for energy systems and expanded bin storage. Ultimately, FSI here is a technical artifact of the apartment classification. If we remove 2 units, which would be a worse social outcome, there would be no FSI variance, and we would effectively be an as-of-right proposal. I want to spend the remaining time, if I have another 30 seconds, on slide 15. We took the committee's feedback from November seriously and reimagined the project. If you looked at the comparison, we have improved 7 of the variances and eliminated 2 others. Our side setback improved to 0.22 meters to match the existing. We increased total soft landscaping by 8% and rear yard landscaping by 10%. We completely resolved urban forestry's concern as well as transportation via solid waste management. All those concerns have been addressed. We have added 1 new variance as mentioned. People, even today, were talking about the large porches. We accommodated that, and that has resulted in a new variance. We have to decide if we are going to embrace the expanding housing options in neighborhoods framework and the Bathurst MTSA, or if those are just empty policies we abandon at the first sign of local pushback. We've brought forward a responsible, fundamentally stronger proposal that brings gentle, family-focused density to a transit-rich street. It meets all 4 statutory tests, and I respectfully ask for your approval. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much, sir. All right, panel. Dylan?
Yeah, a few questions. The first one is the nice rendering that you have in your presentation today. It has bay windows, but the site plans that we are looking at do not have bay windows. So I'm just wondering, like, is that just like a picture, or like, you know, how do we know that that's actually going to be part of the implementation?
Sorry about that. The bay windows are well, they're part of the rendering, so that's exactly what we want to build. We want to build something that is representative of the street. You know, we can add that as a condition that we would have them as bay windows. That's not a problem at all.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that would be helpful because the site plans that we see are obviously from a slightly earlier iteration, and they don't have that. And I do think that fits the character better. So
absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Secondly, you've talked a lot about how it could be 6 units could be as of right, which is correct. And you sort of mentioned that, you know, you think that's not desirable, but I was wondering if you could maybe elaborate on that. Like, why not just do some larger apartments in the basement with the same number of bedrooms in the end, but just in smaller number of units?
Yeah, that's a fair question. I mean, the units that we're providing are 1,800 square feet. They're very large, and at a certain point, to be.
Well, no, but the basement ones are all smaller ones, right? They're all 1 bedrooms.
No, of course, but then the question would be, they would become part of those upper units, right? So we already have the upper units at 1,800 square feet. So it would be difficult from an economics perspective. Those units become, the size of some houses in Toronto, and that becomes difficult from a rentability perspective to the cost of building them. It's already difficult to make the numbers work with the size units. That's why so many developers opt to go with the smaller units, because on a per square foot basis, the rentability of those is so much higher.
So what you're saying is the 1 bedroom units in the basement are easier to rent than you merge them into 2 bedroom units in the basement.
Yes. If you're talking about bridging them like that, there would be some issues in terms of at the building code stage. So we're actually, the middle wall is a firewall as well as the horizontal wall. So you can't, if we do that, we break some fire compartments, that creates a building code problem. So just given that we've gone through this process a number of times, we didn't want to do that and then fundamentally change something.
Okay, thank you. That's helpful. More questions. The bike parking. So your original one, you had bike parking in the back. Now you're trying to say that it's going to be interior, which one of the opponents pointed out is not that convincing. I just wonder if you could speak to the bike parking issue.
Yeah, we've internalized it because we've had issues at our other buildings, frankly, where bikes get stolen. And they're close by. We have a property on St. George, and it's a constant issue. There's a lot of, unfortunately for Toronto, it is an issue. So a lot of the residents have started bringing in that bike parking. So the bike parking that we have, frankly, isn't used much. All of these units have direct access. You walk in through a door, you're in your unit. So there's ample space to put a bike if you so wish to.
Okay. Thank you. Last question. One of the opponents writing in was concerned that the new design with kind of the 3 stories on the second, third, fourth floor, or first, second, and third floor, could later be broken up and sort of reverted to a larger number of units. And, you know, there is a bedroom on each floor. Can you just speak to, like, why that would not be something that could be done? Like, is there structural things that would prevent that from being done?
I think the proposal in front of you is the proposal that you have. I mean, that could apply to any application. Can you do X, Y, and Z thereafter? We're proposing what we're proposing. I can imagine like 10 different things that could possibly be done in the future, but that's not what we're proposing here today.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Hang on a second. Jordan, can you just pull, can you pull up this is which floor plan is this? Sorry, what floor is that? I can't read.
Through the chair, this is the 3rd floor plan.
This is the 3rd floor. Can you pull up the second? So this looks like 4 2-bedrooms?
Yes.
And the first floor is?
Four bedrooms.
Sorry, there was 4 bedrooms up there?
Yes. Across ground, second and third floor, there should be 4 bedrooms.
There's 1 bedroom on the first floor, 1 bedroom on the second floor, and 2 on the third floor.
Yeah.
Oh, so they're vertical.
Yeah,
Sorry, that's what was throwing me. I was thinking it was flat. I was trying to figure out. I tried to count up the beds and I couldn't. It didn't work for me, but that's helpful. Okay. All right, Dylan, you done your questions?
Yeah, I'm done.
Anne? Any questions?
No.
Okay. All right. I think the agent has answered pretty much everything that I was concerned about. So let's take this into committee. I'm happy to start if you guys would like.
I'll start because I'm not. I'll just start with some notes.
Okay.
I'm kind of divided on this. I do feel it's been a bit of a chaotic process. You know, the rendering doesn't match the site plan. There's been last-minute changes that aren't really fair to the, you know, to the neighbors. I'm not. I see the point about the bike parking, but I'm also not convinced that it's really feasible to be putting bikes in these fairly small spaces, although the upper units are quite large, so that might be space for that. On the other hand, you know, the south side side yard setback, I mean, part of the old house was that distance, so, you know, it's not like that was really accessible before. The garden suite is definitely improved. There's no variances related to the garden suite whatsoever. It does seem like it may cause some problems in terms of parking for the neighbor, but the fact is that the actual shared driveway is only 4 feet wide, and they're not intruding on that. I definitely understand the concern about the large volume of people who have to be going back, and that, you know, half of the units have entrances at the rear. But that is, you know, that is supposed to be a pedestrian access. So, you know, that's not, you know, I see how that can be a problem, but at the same time, it's wide enough for people to use, and there is a right of way that's intended for pedestrians as well. So, you know, yeah, I would definitely prefer. I would point out that it was a triplex before, and it certainly would have been preferable to maybe expand that triplex that existed rather than building a completely new unit. But on the other hand, this is, you know, it's not out of size for a houseplex, and the proponent's correct that if this was 6 units, there would be no FSI, which is definitely the largest variance. So I'm kind of on the fence about this.
All right. Well, I'll, if it's okay, I'll weigh in. I have a number of comments. I go back to when this was before the committee previously. It was refused, and one of the principal reasons it was refused, certainly not the only one, was at that time, committee had a recommendation from Forestry to refuse this application because there was a concern about the potential impact on mature trees. That concern from Forestry no longer exists. The proponent has offered a workaround that it looks like the tree will be preserved and Forestry's concerns will be addressed. I think this has been fairly significantly improved. I know that the neighbors and some of the opponents are concerned that it was basically the same thing. I would disagree. I think that the applicant has gone away, has heard not only what the committee said at the time, but also heard what the residents have said. It's great that the residents have contributed their views on this. I would say that those views have been heard. I think that to a certain extent, this application has been improved, and that improvement reflects the input that people that live on the street and are concerned about Palmerston have raised. So I think that is a good thing, that community input has had an impact. So that's a good thing. And several of the variances, as the agent went through, have been significantly improved. I step back and look at this a little bit more broadly. I think one of the overlooked issues here that has been raised, but this portion of Palmerston, as well as surrounding streets, are part of a protected major transit station area. Now, that may not make a lot, people in the public may not generally understand, but that's a very significant designation. It's new. It's a reflection of both the city and the province's priority being placed on areas that are surrounding higher order transit, and the importance of introducing and supporting more intensification and more density into those areas. The boundary of this protected municipal transit area, PMTSA, includes Palmerston as well as surrounding streets, basically surrounding the Bathurst subway station. These things are around most subway stations across the city. So what that means is the city council is saying that those areas should be and will be in the future subject to more intensification because they're proximate to transit, they're proximate to commercial activity. It's within a 10-minute walk of a subway station and a lesser walk to retail, restaurants, amenities on streets like Bloor, which is frankly exactly where we should be allowing more residents, and particularly given the crisis that we're facing, more more rental accommodation. So this is in this location, this is an area that has been deemed by council as an area that should be supporting more density. I would also note that there is no height variance, that there is, so it's, as the agent pointed out, it's quite likely that higher buildings will be allowed in the future in this area. There are several similarly sized, even though they were built 50, 75 years ago, there are larger structures on the street and in the surrounding neighborhood, which are frankly, while attractive, more imposing than what is being proposed here. The depth, I think, in terms of the depth, is similar to others that have been approved and some of those existing apartment buildings. There is a dramatic improvement on soft landscaping. It doesn't meet the full requirements of the bylaw, but compared to what is there now, it is a dramatic improvement. And particularly, I think the applicant has agreed to put in permeable pavers where there isn't soft landscaping. And while that doesn't count towards the calculation, it does contribute to water permeability into the ground. So people's concerns about flooding and stormwater runoff, it should be much better with this application than it is currently. And importantly, you know, city staff has not opposed this application, and there has been discussions between the proponent and city staff to the point that they appear to be satisfied that the application is largely consistent with the official plan and what the city is trying to achieve in this area. So for all those reasons, I will be supporting this application. I think it's, you know, people are concerned about, you know, the character and how this fits in. I heard a lot of that kind of commentary, and I read a lot of commentary from people who are opposed, who just don't like it because it doesn't fit in with the prevailing architecture. But given its proximity to amenities and given the change that is happening not only in this neighborhood and other areas, this is a very desirable neighborhood. It's not surprising that people would like to live, more people would like to live on Palmerston and in surrounding area. It's a lovely location. I thought Ms. Landault gave quite a lovely, impassioned perspective on why she supports this application, and I agreed with a lot of what she was saying. So I'm not on the fence on this one. I'm actually quite supportive of it. So, Anne, did you have any thoughts?
Well, I was also on the fence, mainly about the FSI, but we've heard a lot of changes. I mean, it could have gone to 6 units. Now it's 8 or 9, I guess, with the garden suite, but 8 in the main building. So changes have been made. There's no height issue, so the excessive massing is ameliorated by that. And with respect to neighborhood character, the applicant said he's amenable to a bay window condition. We didn't hear a lot about negative impact, I guess, other than parking and neighborhood character, which is somewhat subjective as well. And we do have to consider the need for additional housing at this committee as potentially a mitigating factor on whether a variance is minor. I guess one way to look at it too in terms of the MTSA is that it could be worse than what it is today in the future. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
All right. Okay. I'm going to look to me, we kick this off. Is someone either further discussion or whether you want to try a motion?
Okay, so I'll add couple of other thoughts as well. First of all, I do like the new staircase at the front. I appreciate that. I know some people were concerned about that, but actually, you know, it kind of was a response to a desire for neighborhood character. I feel like the new design with that, and if we include the bay windows, does actually fit in reasonably well with the neighborhood. Like I said, I personally probably would have preferred to expand the traditional building, but you know, that's not within our purview, and it's not yet a heritage designated street yet, although perhaps it should be. So given those factors, I think I'm willing to move a motion, and given the comments of my colleagues, I think I'm willing to move a motion to support these variances with forestry condition 2, and with the condition that the front upper story windows be made of bay windows.
Can I just add a friendly amendment? I just looking at the site plan, I spoke about permeable pavers, but they're not actually identified as permeable. The walkways in the rear
Okay, yeah.
Aren't identified on the site plan as permeable, so can we put a condition into that effect?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
And through the chair as amended?
As amended,
Yes,
for
as
sure.
amended.
As amended many times.
Yeah. Capital A amended. All right,
amended
motion by
multiple times.
Mr. Reed to that effect. Andy, do you want to second that? Second by Ms. Crawford, all in favor? The application is approved. And I did want to thank all the residents for participating. We do hear, we listen, we read to everything, but I would suggest to you that your input has in fact improved this application a little bit. Thank you all.
Thank you.
All right, we move on to our last item of the day. Item number 27, 35 Jerome. This is an application to alter the existing two-story detached dwelling by constructing a bay window along the side wall, a rear two-story addition with a basement, a rear covered ground floor deck, a rear second-story balcony, and a complete third-story addition with front and rear balconies. This current application is necessitated to include additional variances not identified in approval, approved minor variance previous decision related to the construction of a rear two-story addition and a complete third-story addition with a sloped roof. Committee has before it a copy of plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 3 photographs of trees on the subject property, covering letter from the agent, previous decision number affecting the property, presentation materials from the agent, Metrolinx advisory report, a 5 signature petition from owners of 32 Abbott 2519 Dundas West, 29, 39, and 42 Jerome, and correspondence and support from 689 Indian Road. Good afternoon, Mr. Gain.
Good afternoon.
Congratulations for sticking around to the bitter end.
Yeah.
I don't think we're doing this to you all the time, aren't we?
Your staff has got a great sense of humor. Great practical jokers. Thank you.
For the record, please, name and address.
It's Trevor Gain. I am at 10 Celebrity Place in Markham, Ontario. Agent here on behalf of the owners.
All right, sir. You are coming back to make some changes, I guess some technical changes, or is it a redesign?
Redesign of the third roof. If you could pull up my presentation material. Basically, we were here about just over a year ago to additions and renovations to a single-family dwelling that we had a gable roof that went straight forward to back, and that was all approved. We got a building permit for it. Construction hasn't started other than some underpinning. During an interior design process, we had, within the sloping roof, we had a 76-centimeter knee wall going front to back. Maybe the next slide would be better. And as a result, it just sort of limited the usable space within it. So in this slide right here, you can see in the red dotted outline, that was the roof line from the previous that was approved at this panel. And what we're looking to do is just essentially bring the walls up to kind of square it all off. So the massing is really not that intrusive. We had a pair of dormers that occupied 40% down the sides. Next slide. And so by just bringing it up, we just picked up a couple of variances, basically side yard setback, but it's exactly what it was before. We're just going straight up on those walls, but because now it's a wall, the setback is required. There's a slight GFA, again, because we have the knee walls that were there were exempt from GFA. Now we get the full width of the house. And wall height, which is now measured because originally our side walls complied, now they don't. And then the additional variances that are in front of you are just sort of a carry forward, which were already approved in the previous application. So we went through the neighborhood to kind of explain everything, why we're coming back. We have letters of support. If you scroll through the photographs that I submitted, it also kind of helps. Like we really looked at it. The top photo there is our string of houses, so typical gable roofs. Photograph B, you start seeing some larger multi-dwellings right across the street in photograph C. Now you start seeing different roof lines. Here we got a sloping roof going up front, so very close houses, very gable sides, kind of similar to what we're doing. Next set of photographs, please. And as you go around the neighborhood, there's all sorts of different massings and styles and whatnot and heights. Continue along. Next photographs. Right, semi-detaches, full detaches. Next page. Again, just very dense houses up and down and around, gables here and there. So, and this last photograph is one that was recently approved with this panel, something that we're mimicking, and you can see the result of kind of a flat roof, 3-story house compared to the adjacent neighbors. Not out of character, not overwhelming, and that's basically what we're seeking here today.
Okay, thank you. Panel, any questions? We have no questions for you. All right, thank you very much. Let's go into committee. Anyone want to take this one? Go ahead, Ann.
I do think the variances are minor and for a good reason, as just presented by the applicant, and consistent with what's happening in the neighborhood. So I could move for approval of this application.
All right, no conditions. Okay, motion to approve by Ms. Crawford. Is that you seconding, Dylan? Seconded by Mr. Reed. All in favor? You have your approval. Thank you for your endurance. All right, and with that, that concludes today's proceedings. We are adjourned at 5:19. Thank you all. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, members. Thank you, staff. Please turn off your videos, cameras, mute the room. Cut the feed. Thank you. Cut the feed.